Welcome back to NUIC Football, joined by Logan, Swan. I am your host, Kyle Kampmier. Joe Merdian and Jay Doyle will join us later in the show to talk about IFA, but in the meantime, myself and Logan are going to sit here. We're going to break down what happened in Week 8. We're going to look ahead to Week 9. We're also going to take a look at the impact games that are going to turn our playoff brackets and projections upside down, figuratively. Maybe. You never know. It's Week 9. We've seen a lot of chaos happen. But we're going to take a look at all of that this week and give you guys a good outlook into what we see the playoff field looking like and moving into the playoff show that we have coming up this Saturday, live at 6:30 p.m. on our NUIC Football YouTube channel, so be sure to join that as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to cover 8-man Class 1A, 2A, and 3A. We also have a lot of stuff to look at between releasing the IFA brackets. Then we're going to interview some 8-man coaches from around the state. We have a great collection of guests lined up for that. Then we're going to move into the 1A, 2A, and 3A fields. We're going to release those brackets. We also have another conglomerate of coaches that are ready to come on to talk. And you know what, Logan? We got Brad Dixon on schedule. We got Aaron Elmore on schedule. A couple other guys, before we came live, you were talking about Rockridge being one of the teams you're excited about. We're going to get Sam Graves on schedule. We got Farmington Farmers coach Toby Vallis coming on with us. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm so excited. Of course, we have the NUIC coaches coming on in case anybody is wondering about that. But either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. It's going to be a whole new look to what we've done in past years. Same format, same people, but a whole lot more information coming in this year.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm excited for it. I know we'll have our little playoff party that we do as a team that we usually get together for when the brackets and everything come out. So I'm excited for it. It's finally, this is really the first week of the playoffs because I did the math, involving 4 and 4 teams. Not saying that all these 4 and 4 teams are going to win, but there's 26 games, not counting Chicago public schools, that involve a 4 and 4 team that must win to get in. That's a lot of win and get in games, just in the 1A through 3A level.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, a lot of these teams are in playoff mode already. A local team around here was Forston. They've been in playoff mode basically since week 4, and they've taken care of business. They once again had to go on the road this week down to Leroy, always a tough place to play, and they come out with a win down there to get themselves to 5 wins. And really, yes, they're playoff eligible, but they've already clinched their ticket. They're going to have more than enough playoff points to get in, especially when you take a look at the teams that are eligible to make the playoffs. The total amount of teams able to make the playoffs this year is 496. That's less than, you have less than half that are going to make the field. So when you're putting in 51% of the group, that's why you can see more 5 and 4 teams getting in the playoffs. On top of that, the last year that we had a 5 and 4 team not make the playoffs was in 2021, and it was one team that had like 23 or 24 playoff points. Everybody else was in. But since then, we've had 1 4 and 5 team in, 4 4 and 5 teams in, 1 4 and 5 team in, and right now we're looking at the potential of 4 and 5 teams in, and that number could grow depending on how some of these 4 and 4 matchups go as well.
It definitely could. This is exactly why the playoff field doesn't need to expand. Just a short side note there. Exactly why it doesn't. We can't even fill it at 256 with 500 teams over it. So that soapbox done. So I'm excited for it. This is even though it's not the first round of the playoffs, this is like wild card weekend. That's what I'll call it. This is like wild card weekend for some of these teams.
Yeah, it is. Should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to get talking about it. while we do that, let's take a look at our Byron Wealth Management scoreboard from this past week. Across the NUIC, Galena beat Dakota 46-6. Forston beat Leroy 26-13. Stockton got the game of the week win 18-14 over Du-Pec. Morrison brings home the wooden shoe with a 31-21 win over Fulton. And Lena-Winslow beat EPC 60-32. Obviously, some big performances throughout that we'll talk about later in the show, but that gives you a look at our Byron Wealth Management scoreboard. And with that, we move into our Volkert Design standings across the NUIC. And Stockton on top at 7-0. A win this week against Forston will seal up an outright conference title. Obviously, there's still an opportunity for a share of the title. If Stockton were to lose, then the winner of the Lena-Winslow Du-Pec game would collectively share that conference title with Stockton. But Stockton in full control right now, already sealed up a share of their first conference title since 2016, I believe. Maybe 2017. I know 2016 for sure. I did not go back and look. But they're sitting at 7-0, 8-0 overall. Lena-Winslow and Du-Pec 6-1 in the conference. Lena-Winslow 7-1 overall. Du-Pec at 6-2. Forston is now 4-3 in conference play. Like we said, they got their fifth win to get into the playoffs. They're at 5-3. And then right there you have Galena and EPC both sitting at 4-4 overall, needing a win this week to clinch their spot in the playoffs. Again, those two teams have enough playoff points where a fifth win will get them in. So it's not win and hope, it's win and in for both of those teams. They got some work to do, and we'll talk about that when we preview their games coming up. Morrison gets that win over Fulton to move ahead of Fulton in the conference standings. They are 2-6 and 2-6. They go out of conference this week to play Marquette Academy. Fulton is 1-6, 2-6, and Dakota rounds out the NUIC at 0-7 and 1-7. So that gives you a look at our Volkert Design scoreboard. And anything to add to that, Logan?
Yeah, there were a couple games around the state that kind of impacted things or how we view things. One of them was Williamsville Maroa. Obviously, that moves a now Maroa team to proverbial 7-2, looking at like projecting and out. Probably an 8 or 9 seed now. Williamsville likewise is all but assured home field advantage for most of the playoffs. Olney got the win over Casey, so that, like we had kind of thought out, Casey does get that one loss like we projected to get out, so that adds to
Richland County, that powerhouse.
Yeah, Olney got that win, and I think there were a couple. Oh, Chicago Hope and Bishop McNamore. BMAC got the win over Chicago Hope, and then Seneca. This is one I was wrong on it. We were both wrong on it. I thought St. Joe's would get them. It was a back and forth game. It was competitive. It was a 39-36 game. Seneca came out on top. So that was just a couple of the other scores that caught my eye.
Yeah, I was able to talk to Seneca head coach Terry Maxwell today for a little bit via email exchange, and very excited that that we are looking at talking about his team on our playoff show, but likewise very excited about where his Irish are at right now. Obviously, we have them in our top 10 state rankings as well. Definitely going to be a player in that Class 2A field, so going to be very exciting to see how some of this stuff breaks down. And wouldn't you like to see where they line up in the playoffs? I mean, granted, right now projections would have them meeting potentially Sterling Newman in the second round and then Rock Ridge in the quarterfinals. So they would run into most likely 2 Three Rivers teams pretty much right out of the gates. And it'd be a lot of fun to see those matchups come to fruition as well, because I think Seneca can make a good run this year, but it's going to depend on where they do fall and how they land.
Those are 2 fun matchups, Newman and Rocker. big Rockridge guy right now. I'm all aboard that train. Their game, that was another one I forgot. Mama's Roseville and Rockridge. I know we both like Rockridge. I don't know if we saw that score coming true.
No, I think Rockridge was only like a 9-point
The
favorite
projection was
going
only
in.
26.
48 to
Yeah,
12, I
the
think
projection was
the final,
38-26.
right?
It was not. That's where I was right in line with the project. I'm like, that feels right.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Coach Jeremy Adolphson, because I
Yeah.
like what he's trying to do there, but I let Coach Sam Graves know on Instant Reacts that I've been projecting them at 9-0, and they lived up to what they made me look like a prophet in that. So a lot of fun, obviously, and yeah, Rockridge looks like the real deal. Cullen Schweigen's all over the place,
All-stater.
and a lot of his targets are too. Yeah. So going to be a lot of fun for sure, taking a look at that bracket. We've said it all year long that the 2A bracket was going to be up for grabs, and now we're starting to see some teams really take a hold of who they are and what they are, and where we could potentially see them when we get to normal the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's take a look at our first game when we return right after this.
Hey there, local high school football fans. This is Sean Considine, a Byron Tiger and Iowa Hawkeye alumni, and now an LPL financial advisor. I'm passionate about high school football because it's the purest form of the game where communities come together, lifelong character is built, and the love for football runs deeper than the scoreboard. You can find me in my Byron office most days until I run off to football practice. I'm happy to talk about football or the markets. I'll leave that up to you. I want to wish everyone across Illinois a safe, successful, and memorable high school football season. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Are you looking to raise funds for your program? Look no further than Leading Edge Fundraising, helping teams and programs raise more with less hassle. Whether you're gearing up for a new season or trying to hit a financial goal, Leading Edge has the tools, products, and experience to get you there. From youth clubs to varsity programs, they've helped teams across Illinois maximize profits and minimize stress. Want fundraising that actually works? Go with the local experts who know how to win off the field too. Contact Brandon at 563-514-1647. Leading Edge Fundraising, raising the standard. Reach out today and take your program to the next level. We're going to go to Dakota, where the Indians enter this week at 1-7. They are going to play host to the number 8 ranked in our NUIC football polls, Eastland Pearl City, who enters at 4-4. Last week, Dakota lost to Galena 46-6, while EPC lost to Lena-Winslow 60-32. For Dakota, they really did not have a lot going offensively for them. They were led by Jaden Gordon, who had 10 attempts for 50 yards and a touchdown. The Indians didn't complete a pass, and they were held to under 100 yards on the ground. So you can definitely see why they struggled to score against Galena there. On the other side of the ball, though, Deacon Hoffmaster had himself a night. Even got put up for Friday Night Drive, one of the quarterbacks to make the team this week. The sophomore quarterback was 16 for 22 for 297 yards and 5 touchdowns. Zy Haverland had 4 receptions for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Draven Zier, 5 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. Lena-Winslow shut him down to just 19 yards of rushing offense. That was a very tough night for a running back who, one, has over 1,000 yards, is trying to push for that 3,000-yard career mark, and unfortunately had a bad night against a great defensive scheme. Sawyer Williams also added 3 receptions for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Logan, let's be honest. There's not a whole lot to talk about in this game outside of the fact that EPC needs to get the win to get into the playoffs. And right now, we have them projected to get in. And if things were to hold serve the way that they are currently, they would be going on the road to Farmington, of all places.
That's a fun first round matchup. That's a
That
fun.
would
That's
be
a
a
fun
fun
one.
first
That's a
round
fun
matchup.
one. There are, again, this is not to be disrespectful, but like that's a game where you could see a quote unquote upset happen based on seeding. I don't know what the projection or how it all play out, but that's a game that I feel like would be it'd be a close game. It feels like a tight knit game.
I think it would be a closer game than what a 14-3 seeded game
It probably feels
normally
more
is.
like an 8.
If that were
That
to come
probably
to
feels more like
fruition.
an 8-9 seed type of game score wise that you would like picture in your head. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah. No, it'd definitely be a lot of fun to see play out, but
You gotta
obviously
win.
EPC's got to take care of business this week. I don't want to dig on anybody, but EPC is a 36-point favorite. We'll pretty much leave it at that. We already know, the amount of struggles that Dakota has faced. You got to commend them and give them a round of applause for battling through every week. They've had 20 kids, 19 kids that have shown up every week. And, we see other teams that are forfeiting because they don't want to play, they're afraid to play, stuff like that. Dakota shows up every week, regardless of who they're playing. So, kudos to them for continuing to do what they do with the adversity that they face week in, week
Definitely.
out. But yeah, EPC definitely projected to win this one. Big game that we have here, almost game of the week worthy, but not quite because we got some bigger ones coming down the road here. But number 8 Forreston at 5-3 has to go on the road to play number 1 Stockton, who is 8-0. Number 8 Forreston in our NUIC football polls. Just want to make sure we preface that. Forreston beat Leroy 26-13 last week. Stockton beat Du-Pec 18-14. Run us down the numbers there, Logan.
Yeah, Connor Polish had 10 attempts and 125 yards and a touchdown and a 52-yard receiving touchdown for Forreston. Eli Ferris had 9 attempts, 49 yards, and a touchdown. Brady Gill added 52 yards passing and a TD on the ground as well, and a passing touchdown. Jack Menzendijk, on the other hand, for Forreston, had 16 attempts, 90 for Stockton. Sorry, was on a roll.
I know
I
what
was
you
on
meant.
a roll. Yeah, Jack Menzendijk had 16 attempts and 91 yards on the ground with 2 receptions in the air and 2 touchdowns in the air with 6 tackles. Mark Detweiler had 11 attempts on the ground with 36 yards and a touchdown and 10 tackles. And Noah Larson, finally, he's starting to use his legs a little more. I'm here for it. 8 attempts on the ground, 41 yards, and it was 8 of 12 passing for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 6 tackles. Maya Luke also added 8 tackles in for that Stockton defense. Stockton, 30-point favorites.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, we just had Sean Downey on our NUIC All Access podcast this past week, along with Eli Larson and Oliver McPeak, and that was a lot of fun getting to talk to those guys. Definitely very goal-driven team this year, and they know that they cannot go into this game overlooking Forreston because it's one of the things that they have instilled in their own minds based off of what happened last year. And you love to see teams that stay on that focus as well. On the other side of the ball, I was able to talk to Jonathan Milnes and Caden Loomis for Forreston, who were in Durand for that Du-Pec Stockton game. So I met up with them at halftime, was able to talk to them along with Zach Gill and or not Zach
Brady.
Gill, but no, it was Zach, just not Zach Gill. But anyway, we sat there and we talked, and they were excited about the trip down to Leroy. They obviously knew what they could do, as far as going down there and getting the win. If you take a look at the game early on, they traded blows with each other, but in the second half, Forston owned it and put the game away, which speaks a lot to what this Forston team has done. I've talked with head coach Keenan Janicki at different times as well, and they have done a phenomenal job. This team has fought every balance that they can. You go back to that win against Galena when they needed to have that big win that we talked about before, and you could see the excitement and celebration and joy and enthusiasm that they had in that game, getting to 3-1. Likewise, the same energy was there when they went down to Leroy. And I'm not saying they didn't have this energy in any games in between, because I'm sure that they did. But, you know, they got roughed up by EPC. They had some other games in there that they lost. But when push comes to shove, this team continues to fight. And they have some senior leadership, and the seniors are definitely driving this team. They also have some good youth coming up with it. So I think we're just scratching the surface of what this Forston team can do. And if they get the right draw, we could be looking at 2022 on repeat again, where the right draw could see a Forston Cardinal team making a deep run into these playoffs. Because, you know, that's the argument that we see too. Why is Forston at 4-4 in your state rankings? It's like, well, one, people obviously are voting for them. Two, clearly, if you take a look around the state, I think Forston has kind of proven that they're one of the better teams when you go into these playoffs. Eventually, they're going to run into an NUIC team, though, that may end their run, but you never know. This is a Forston team that is notorious for getting upsets when they're least likely. We've seen that happen several times over the past 7, 8, 9 years. So don't count out the cards is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. Speaking of, you know, if they get the right draw, they're making a run. I think it was 2 weeks ago on the previous one. That was the one we didn't kind of look into. I commented on your page, on the NUIC page on Facebook. I said I think this is I think it's 4 NUIC teams in the quarterfinals with Galena, Stockton, Forston, and Lena. I looked at the draw. I'm like, I think it's. I've looked. I'm like, this feels like a 4-team NUIC quarterfinal, and I don't know if that possibility is still there with the playoff points and seeding. I'm not going to pretend that, but I think given the right chance, it could happen. Or you could say see 3 teams.
I think you right now, our latest projections have Galena and Lena-Winslow now meeting up in the first round. Now that is provided that Lena-Winslow beats Du-Pec. If Lena-Winslow loses to Du-Pec, that's obviously going to drop Lena-Winslow down, and then I think that would definitely open up that scenario and opportunity to see that happen. I'm not telling Lena-Winslow to lose. That's not what I'm saying. But I think there's some other games that could take place that could shift that around too, clearly. Because if you get if Galena were to get 15 seed, which I don't think they will. I think they're going to be higher than that. I think the 14 seed is about where they're going to be. If they get to the 13 seed where Forston currently is, and Forston were to get bumped up to the 12 seed, that leads to a second round matchup with those two. So I think that the only way possible for it to happen right now, realistically, would be for Lena-Winslow to
I know who I'm rooting for.
lose.
Go Du-Pec.
And another team would have to draw into the 1A field.
Looking at you, Leroy.
So, you know, lots of opportunities exist, but it's good talking points. Like you said, Stockton, 30-point
I like
favorite.
Stockton.
They're my pick to win. Obviously, I got
like
it projected
Stockton.
out
I
that
actually,
way.
I will say, I think this game could be closer than like the 30-point favorite. I'm not gonna say Stockton's gonna lose. I'm picking Stockton, but I think this game could be closer if Forston keeps the ball away and out of their hands for a couple drives.
Well, you know what they say. This is a great opportunity for Forston to throw some punches and kind of figure out what they can do offensively against a team like Stockton, because they're going to have to play a team like Stockton if they want to
Deep.
get to normal,
If they want
let's
to get
be
deep in the
honest.
playoffs.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I do like Stockton. They've been one of the favorites all year long. I'm not going to shy away from that at all, but it should be an interesting game. But we'll return right after this. Need a logo, website, or standout graphic design? Check out Nick at Volkert Design, your go-to for high-impact branding and design solutions. With over 20 years of experience serving businesses across Northern Illinois and Chicagoland, Nick delivers best-in-class websites, logos, and graphics that get noticed. Whether you're a startup or an established name, Volkert Design brings your vision to life. Visit Volkert.design today to see the difference top-tier design makes. Life comes with a lot of big decisions, from protecting your home and family to planning for the future. That's where Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial comes in. As a local agent, Tyler knows our community and is committed to helping you build a plan that's right for you. Give Tyler Hoffman a call today at 815-248-2188 or stop by his office in Durand. Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial, protecting what matters most. We head down to Fulton, where the Steamers enter with a 2-6 record. They are going to play host to the number 11 ranked Galena Pirates, who enter at 4-4. Again, number 11 in the NUIC Football state rankings. This is a must-win game for Galena, so just one of the two must-win games that we have this week. Galena beat Dakota 46-6 to get to this opportunity. Fulton lost to Morrison 31-21. For Galena last week, Roman Romer is 7 for 10 passing for 88 yards and a rushing touchdown. Sam Amaya had 9 attempts for 118 yards with 2 touchdowns. Keenan Leiden had 10 attempts for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Eli Schumacher had 3 receptions for 57 yards. I have Fulton stats, but they were the year-to-date stats, and I have not gotten the opportunity to break those down to see what they did as far as their performance against Morrison, but I believe Braden Myers did have 89 yards passing. Wyatt Connor, a freshman running back, has really jumped onto the scene this year with the opportunities he's been given, and it should be a lot of fun to watch him continue to play moving forward. This is one of those critical games, though, Logan, where me and you have talked about it on and off throughout the course of the season. Obviously, Galena got a good rushing attack this week, but we've been semi-critical about their ability to run the ball. And we know run teams win in November, and you can't always rely on the pass. Galena has to win this game. They win, they're in. They lose, they're out. It's as simple as that. There's no way that they're going to get in with their playoff points at this moment. Or any moment for that matter. They have to get to 5. Galena enters this game as an 11-point favorite. And as we've watched the ratings develop over the course of the season, they've gone from number 4 in the conference down to number 6. So both EPC and Forston have upended Galena, despite the fact that Galena did beat EPC. But right now, EPC is rated above Forston, rightfully so, because they knocked the doors off Forston. Galena did beat EPC, but they did lose to Forston in a game that Forston desperately needed to win, as we've already discussed, in order to be in this opportunity to get us 6 teams into the playoffs. So it's kind of ironic that it comes back to Galena having probably the toughest game in the area to get to that 5th win this week.
Yeah, it's this I hate using the term trap game or like any of that, but this feels like the definition of a trap game, because we've talked about it with Fulton all year. They're young, but they've been pretty competitive in a lot of games where they've battled and they've been scrappy, when physicality wise and athletically they were probably a little bit outmatched just because of their youth and their age. Not saying they're not good football players, but just there's a difference being a sophomore out there compared to a junior and senior with a couple more years of weightlifting in you and morning liftings and summers. It's a little different. Galena's going to have to run the ball to a above average effort, in my opinion, have to win this game. They're not going. I don't think they can, with just how athletic Fulton has seemed, even with their youth. I don't think Galena can out-athlete them. That said, the Galena defense has been really stingy this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Galena, don't get me wrong, Galena has
Yes, I
athletes
agree
all
with
over
that.
the field, and they've done a great job. They lost some size up front, but they still have physicality and tenacity. They do have to clean some things up. They have to trust in each other to make their plays. They have to own the line of scrimmage. And I agree with the fact that they need to establish the run game. Not saying that that necessarily needs to propel them to the win. We know what Roman Romer can do. What we haven't seen is the play of Owen Hafel the past couple weeks because he's been injured. They're looking forward to hopefully seeing his return this week, which just adds another level to that receiving core with Drew Koenig's. Eli Schumacher's done some things in the pass game and the run game. Owen Hafel. It just, and then Colton McCartney as well. It just gives them an opportunity to do just a little bit more. Defensively, Juan Durantis has been very good at linebacker, along with Gus Knack. Their defensive line has to play a little bit tougher to help give those linebackers the ability to shoot gaps and get through the holes to penetrate the run game. Defensive back-wise, yeah, Galena is very solid there. We talked about that all year long. That was probably between the 2 middle linebackers and Durantis and Knack, and then their defensive backfield. That was the strength of their defense. For them to get this win, they have to come in, obviously, focused and prepared to go to war for all 48 minutes because, like you said, this Fulton team is not your typical 2-6 Fulton team. They're not going to come in and lay down. They're going to try to play spoiler this week, as they should, because, again, as you pointed out, the youth that they have is something that they can build on going into next year.
And there's
as
nothing
well.
scarier than playing a team with nothing to lose. There's
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
scarier.
So, and Fulton's at home too. So what better way to send your seniors out than with a win on their last game on their home field? So I agree with you. Galena's got to be super focused going in this game. They cannot be overlooking Fulton, because if they do, Fulton's going to bite them. I do like Galena in the game. I'm picking Galena to win this game. I've said it before. I want to see 6 teams in the playoffs because I think we can see some electric playoff games if we get 4 of them in the Class 1A field. So I'm sticking with Galena, but it's going to be a dogfight.
I'm gonna stick with Galena, but I'm right in lockstep with you. Or 11 points. I know that's what the favor is and how you're, but that feels just like too much. Even the projection was like 31-21 Galena. I'm like, that just feels like too much. I know why. I get it. It just feels closer. It does.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what the Steamers can do to try to withstand the Pirate attack. See what I did there?
Like that.
All right, next game is the Marquette Crusaders as they hit the road to take on Morrison. Morrison enters at 2-6. Marquette enters at 5-3. Marquette is already into the playoff field in Class 1A. The Crew are projected to win this game. Our friends over at View from the West, Greg and Mitch. This is the View from the West Bowl game as they have coined it, with Greg being a Marquette grad and Mitch obviously a Morrison grad. So they got a little bit on the line here between their little rivalry. Last week, Marquette beat Knoxville 59-6. Morrison beat Fulton 31-21. Carson White was 14 of 25 passing for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brady Anderson had another big game, 17 attempts, 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Colin Rankus had a receiving touchdown. Joshua McDearman had 3 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown. And Braden Rubright led the receiving corps with 5 receptions and 82 yards. One thing to note here, Logan, is going into this game, the NUIC is 7-1 against non-conference opponents. That one loss, Du-Pec to Byron, as was expected. Marquette is a 6-point favorite in this game. And as I said, they are the projected winner of this game as well. I have them projected in our playoff projections at 6-3. We were just talking about Galena and an opportunity for them to be in a different part of the quadrant, so we could have 4 different NUIC teams. Let's go, Morrison. Let's get a win here. Come on. Let's go, Stings.
I'm with you. I am all for the 4 NUIC teams in different quadrants. Just how I want it to work out that way, to where you can get as many WIBC teams. And in a perfect world, I'm getting 3 WIBC teams this year in the quarterfinals. That's what I want it to shape out as. That's what I need, actually. I'm gonna say that's what I need. I need 3 of us in the quarters this year. I'd love 4, but I'm not gonna push my luck. I'd love for 3. I'm rolling with the Stings.
Yeah,
it's a winnable game.
Yeah,
very winnable.
I've never been a bigger Morrison fan than I am this week. I even made that mention on the Instant Reacts. I had made mention that as much as I have quite the following and fans in Marquette.
Oh yeah,
I love Crew.
I remember those battles.
But when it comes down to the NUIC, I'm going to go with the NUIC every time. That's just the way it is. That's really the stimulation behind this show, is to get out and support the NUIC. And Morrison needs to win this game. We need to get to 8-1. That shows complete supremacy across small school football. As we already know, the NUIC is the best small school conference in the state. I don't care what anybody says. We have the records and the trophies to prove it. Morrison's got to win this game.
Go Stings.
So I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking the upset.
We never do that on this show.
Let's go. I know. Let's go Mustangs, baby. Let's go Mustangs. All right. We'll be right back right after this. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the NUIC area? Trust local expertise. Jess Schumacher with RE/MAX Town, Lake, and Country knows the market and understands the community. Whether you're upgrading, downsizing, or buying your first home, Jess is here to make the process simple and stress-free. Put his experience to work for you today. Call Jess Schumacher with RE/MAX Town, Lake, and Country at 347-3659. Your hometown realtor, helping you find home where your story begins. Talking about big games, none get bigger than our Jess Schumacher Remax Town, Lake, and Country Game of the Week. That's where we're headed this week, Logan. Lena-Winslow plays host to the Du-Pec Rivermen. The Panthers come in ranked number 2 in our NUIC football polls at 7-1. Du-Pec enters number 8 in Class 3A in our NUIC football polls, entering at 6-2. Obviously, Du-Pec lost last week to Stockton 18-14, while Lena-Winslow got the win over EPC 60-32. One of the things that we were talking about before we came on air, one of the things that's been discussed on a regular basis since that loss to Stockton was the absence of Dermot Dolan, the conference's leading rusher going into Week 8, was missing from the game. Unfortunately, suffered an injury during practice that kept him out of the ball game. Would that have changed the dynamics of the game against Stockton? We won't know. One thing I do know is when you take a look at touchdowns left on the field, Stockton won by 4 points. They did not convert a single conversion. But Du-Pec left 1 touchdown on the field. Stockton left 2 touchdowns on the field. That's the reality of the situation. And there were swings in both games. Like the touchdown that Du-Pec left on the field, that could have given the Rivermen a 2-touchdown lead at that time. That probably changes the outcome of the game potentially. Likewise, Stockton had a first down inside the 10-yard line that was negated to a holding call. The very next play, they went to a pass play that was dropped and most likely would have resulted in a touchdown, because if he would have caught the ball, he had wide open shot to the end zone. Stockton also got stopped at the 7, which the very next play, Lucas Rousseau dashed for 93 yards in the first score of the game. Those are just my takeaways. It was a great game. Very physical game. I remember making the comment that anybody that played in this game is going to know that they played in this game because they were walking away bruised and battered. And we brought it up on our podcast this week, and both Oliver McPeak and Eli Larson stated that, yeah, that was definitely the hardest game that they've played all season long. So credit to Du-Pec. We saw that physicality against Byron. Once again, they brought it against Stockton. They came up just a little bit short for what a lot of their players wanted, was that opportunity for that conference crown as they leave the NUIC after this season to move into the Big Northern. But man, what a performance. Lucas Rousseau, 25 attempts, 200 yards and a touchdown, 4 for 6 passing for 43 yards. Tyler Tunick was the benefactor in the absence of Dermot Dolan. He had 12 attempts for 92 yards and a touchdown. Great performance for Tunick. I mean, we've seen his name come up a lot this year as a complimentary back in that rushing attack, but when the lights were shining the brightest, he was ready to go and had a good performance there in a secondary role as well. So great job there. Cooper Hamilton, 1 reception for 21 yards to lead that receiving corps. But we had a bigger game this week. And that leads to our Reese and Reese NUIC Player of the Week. And that goes to this guy right here, Aiden Wild, 29 attempts, 321 yards, a new NUIC record, 8 rushing touchdowns. Also, those 8 touchdowns puts him at a tie for 4th place in IHSA history for most touchdowns in a game. What a performance by Aiden Wild. We've been talking about it all year long. He also surpassed the 1,000-yard mark on the season, and, he's roughly 500 yards away from eclipsing that 3,000-yard mark on the season. So congratulations to Aiden Wild on our recent NUIC Player of the Week. Alex Schlichting also contributed 14 attempts for 145 yards and a touchdown. I did some quick math. Schlichting missed quite a few opportunities midway through the season due to injury. Obviously, they were trying to, keep him healthy and reserved for what was going to be the big pathway here to close out the season, going into the postseason. And tell you what, the score from this past week has people scratching their heads with the 32 points allowed. The 60 points scored, though, also has those same people scratching their heads, I think. Regardless, Lena-Winslow is ready to roll. And they are starting to get hot at the right time, which is exactly what Coach A always speaks to. We don't care how we're playing in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to be playing our best football in weeks 8, 9, and going into the playoffs. And that's where they're at right now. Did quick research, quick number adding. Schlichting is 18 yards away from eclipsing 3,000 yards in his career. And if he has a big playoff performance, a la Mari Roby a few years ago when he also was hurt quite a bit and held back in the regular season and then exploded in the playoffs for one of the best playoff runs I've ever seen. Schlichting still has an outside chance at that 4,000-yard mark.
That's impressive.
I'm not crowning them champs. I'm just stating facts because Lena-Winslow has been in the state championship game each of the last 5 years. It's going to be a hard path. This game is not the state championship game. This game is a big game, though. There's bragging rights on this game. Both these teams want to win this game. Both these teams still have an outside chance to potentially have a share of the conference title. If Stockton takes care of business as they're projected to do, the winner of this game finishes second conference in the best conference in the state. Finishing second and third in this conference is no dog and pony show. I mean, you battled your way to be here. So I don't think either of these teams can take anything negative away. The team that loses this game is definitely going to have to revisit what they need to work on and prepare for going into playoffs. Depending on how the bracket falls and who wins this game, we already know Lena-Winslow could have a long run. Lena-Winslow wins this game. It likely, very high probability, like 97% probability, they're going to be on the opposite side of the bracket of Stockton, which everybody wants. If Du-Pec wins this game, there's a high probability that they avoid an IC Catholic or a Byron through at least the first 2 rounds.
I'm sure they want that, just a guess.
Oh my gosh. Like I said, there's a lot riding on this game. And let's be honest, here's another factor too. IC Catholic has a big game this week. They're projected to win it, but it's a close game. It's a toss-up game. If IC Catholic loses, that's going to shift that around to where then if Du-Pec could potentially see themselves on the opposite side of the bracket of both Byron and IC Catholic. Granted, they'd probably fall on the same side as Richmond Burton, but when you're taking a look at this 3A North field and the teams that are going to be in it, you're staying away from the Goliaths until the semifinals if you can get on the opposite side of both of those teams.
Yeah. I know where I'd rather be.
I think everybody knows where they want to be. But one of these teams is going to have to suffer through the suck and find a way to make a deep playoff run. Lena-Winslow enters as a 7-point favorite. Not a surprise. A couple weeks ago, we had Du-Pec projected. Obviously, games have taken place and things have happened along the way to where now Lena-Winslow is once again the favorite. But man, this is going to be one close and very tough game. Du-Pec has clearly shown that they're very capable of playing a physical game, with the likes of holding a lead against Byron at halftime, giving
Stockton
pretty much leading Stockton the majority of the game until 1:04 left in the game when they gave up the game-winning touchdown. Lena-Winslow, on the other hand, the opportunity that they had to really show themselves who they are was back in week 2, and Stockton beat them in every facet of the game. That was a long time ago. We know that teams get better as the year goes on. Lena-Winslow always gets better as the year goes on. This is going to be a fun one, man.
This is a tough one to project. Also, I was just looking because I was curious because I thought the projected score for this game sounded familiar. It's 34-21 Lena. Fun fact, that's the same projected score as last week's game between Stockton and Du-Pec, with Stockton favored 34-21. So if that's any inclination, win for another doozy. Win for another doozy. I don't.
Oh.
Flip a coin and pick your winner. I don't know. I don't know. My gut tells me whatever makes it to where a four-team NUIC team quarterfinal can happen. That's what I'm rooting for.
Well, like I said earlier, I think a Du-Pec win would allow that to happen, but this like I said, this is going to be a fun game. I'm sticking with my guns. I have Lena-Winslow picked to win.
Lena.
Will not be surprised if the Rivermen come out on top at all.
I'm picking Lena.
I think that I think that Du-Pec has definitely proven themselves going up against what a lot of people had initially thought that they would be this year, with the absence of big playmakers from last year's team. They've definitely gone farther than what a lot of outside people thought they would be. I'm not one of those people. I thought Du-Pec would be what they are right now. We knew that they had a very strong line, arguably the strongest line that they've ever had. And when you take a look at Du-Pec in years past, that's been the backbreaker to what they do, was that line. And yeah, no, they're fun to watch, man. They're going to put on the pads, they're going to hit some people, and it's going to be, like you said, a doozy. So, again, sticking with my pick for Lena-Winslow, but this one at Rick Aaron Field at Community Bank Stadium is going to be a ton of fun for our Jess Schumacher Remax Town Lake and Country Game of the Week. If you have nowhere to go, this is the game to be at. So let's take a look around the state at some of these Week 8 games. We'll start in Class 1A. Number 3, Camp Point Central on the road to North Green. Camp Point Central favored by 62 points. Woo! Number 4, Newman. This is definitely a big game here. Newman has to go on the road to number 11 in Class 3A, Monmouth Roseville. I have Newman projected to win this game based off of where they fall ratings-wise. Score projections, like Monmouth Roseville, like Monmouth Roseville by 3 points. This is going to be a fun game. It's going to be a tough game. Both of these teams can run the ball with some good physicality. I think Newman's got a little bit more speed. Newman has the ability to throw the ball with some big targets, especially like Asher Ernst. But Monmouth Roseville brings a level of physicality. Outside of Rock Ridge, they've dominated the Three Rivers the last 2 years, which one could arguably speak towards the Titans being the favorite in this game. But I'm gonna stick with Newman. Will not be surprised if Monmouth Roseville comes out on top.
I like Newman.
Number 5, Calhoun takes on number 6, Brown County. Logan, it's your game. You tell us about it.
This is a fun one. This is the one I've talked about this to you all offseason. This is the game. I think I mentioned this back to you early in the offseason, like January, if I recall. It was early. I brought this up. This is a fun one. Obviously, we're coming in at 8-0, the South Division champs, and Brown County is coming in at 7-1. That one lost to the number 3 team in the state, the North champs, Camp Point. So they're obviously the runner-up. This is I'm going to use the word again. This is a doozy. It is. Both teams. This game has just because I talked to you. This game has really big playoff implications for specifically the southern half. Because obviously, right now you have us projected at 9-0. That gives us the 1 seed, gives you a fairly favorable draw. However, if we were to lose that game with how you have it kind of shaped up right now, we'd be the 4 seed, which would lead to Camp Point being the 1, us eventually probably meeting the quarterfinals, and Brown County would be the 3, KC the 2. So this has big playoff implications. They got a good group of kids. They're obviously led by I got my scouting report too, so I can read their names off actually. I don't have it memorized, but they're led by Trey Fullerton. He's their fullback and inside linebacker, number 24. He's by far one of the best players in the WIVC this year. He's a big, strong, physical kid, inside linebacker. He was a stud for him last year. I remember him. I think very impressed. Their line's very big across the board. Cooper Addix, Alex Beemeyer. I'm sorry for mispronouncing some of these BC folk. I'm not trying to. Brody Seitz, Drew Schuyler, and Levi Brighton, that's how I'm going to pronounce it, along with their 2 tight ends, and Micah Henry and Connor Flynn. They got some good size to them, and their backs, and Eli Staton, Brody Phillips, all very good. Vince Little, obviously Tom's kid, Coach Little's kid, I should say. He was the quarterback last year. He's a good quarterback. He does exactly what he needs to. I've watched the film this week. Throws a good ball, carries his fakes out well. They got a couple subs that they like to use. For us, you're going to hear some familiar names from those 90s teams. Earl Elmore will be under center. You'll have Charlie Matthews on the line, big, strong, physical kid, along Carson Sievers on the line. Our starting center, Warner Pleister. Our left guard is Tyler Grimes, and our left tackle will be Tommy Roth. That kid's been amazing for us this year on both sides of the ball, especially at defensive end. He's been a stud. In the backfield, you got Easton Wallendorf, Tyler Van Dyne, Jake Brandon, along with some other complimentary pieces, especially Jack Good, our number 15. I've showed you a clip of him a time or two this year. You were quite impressed with his athleticism and explosiveness. He's a great player. I'm excited for this game. It's a coin flip. I know what the score projection says. It has us winning 31-21. I'm throwing it out the window. Throwing it out. It's gone. I don't know. It's a fun game. I know what I want to happen deep in my heart. I know everyone knows what I want to happen. That's no secret. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that's not a secret, but either way, this is going to be a dogfight, 110%.
Yeah, when I snoop around the WIVC page, there's a lot of talk about injuries and whatnot. And, obviously it's one of those things that we don't like to talk about. We're not going to specify who's injured or what could be injured, but regardless, big thing is you have a great opportunity here, both teams. Obviously, I know people on both sides of this game, so it's definitely a game I'm going to be paying close attention to. Should be a lot of fun, like you said. I'm sticking with my pick. I will go out on the limb and say this one. I do have your Calhoun Warriors pick to win. I'm staying with that. But I agree. Coach Little and his Hornets are definitely going to be very tough. I think this is a year where these two teams while they have not shown it yet to be able to play Camp Point Central, to me, they're the two teams that stand in the way of Camp Point Central and an opportunity to play it normal. So, and I've said that for quite a while now, and I still feel that way. This game, definitely very exciting. If Calhoun were to lose and Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond stays in Class 2A as currently projected, Camp Point Central would be the only undefeated team in the south part of that bracket in Class 1A. So that's a little bit of a gold nugget there. But, yeah, should be a lot of fun for sure. Like I said, Calhoun wins. They're the number 1 seed in the south
He's
bracket.
going to be a friend of mine this week.
All right, number 7, KZ Westfield at Paris. KZ is also projected to win that one 31-21. Number 9, Anawan Weathersfield plays South Fulton. Anawan Weathersfield's going to jump all over that and finish undefeated in the north bracket where they will lock up the 2 seed. Number 10, Clifton Central at Salt 4. Clifton Central favored 34-17. Our friend, big hitter Matt Surdick and his Comets, a win guarantees him a top 4 seed in the 1A North bracket. A Lena-Winslow loss puts him at a 3 seed. I think we know where he's rooting. Moving into Class 2A, number 1, Wilmington. Yes, I still have Wilmington in the 2A projections. They are on the bubble. They are the last team into the 2A field. There are a lot of games that could bump them into 3A. There are also games that can keep them into 2A. It's going to be a cluster, and it's going to be fun. But they play a very tough game this week against the number 4A state-ranked Coal City Coalers for the ICE Championship. So you got a conference title on the line. You got a team that's ranked number 6 in 3A in the AP polls, number 1 in our 2A polls. If they fall into the 2A field, they're definitely everyone's heavy favorite is Wilmington if they do land 2A. If they land 3A, they just add more to the gauntlet of that 3A North bracket. Coal City, on the other hand, is going to be a team that you're going to want to pay attention to in 4A, especially if Montini stays in 5A, which, when we were talking about it, there is a lot of teams in 3A that are sitting on that 4-4 mark, because when you take a look at that, from projected seeds 24-32, all of those teams are 4-4, and we only projected 4 of them to win. Which means that there's going to be more teams falling into 3A from 4A. So this is what I mean when I tell people you cannot use the IHSA outlook as your thought process into where the brackets will be. The outlook is just that. It's a view of what can happen. It's not the view of what will happen. That 3A line's going up. It is not going down. And it's not staying at 521. It's going up. You're going to see some 4A teams dropping into 3A. Last week in our projections, we had it at 554.4, which was Bishop McNamara as being the biggest 4A team. Once you get past Bishop McNamara, the only other 2 teams that are eligible are at 594, and that's Benton and Chicago South Shore. After that, you get into the 600s, where at one point we did have the 4A projection all the way up to 613. Likewise, Class 4A last week, I had it projected at 968. Susie had it at 1,009 or 986. I'm sorry. I was at 986. He was at 1,009. That, if it comes into fruition, which is very highly likely, will pull Montini into the 4A field. On top of that, that'll be the highest cutoff in Class 4A since the 2010 season. 3A is very vulnerable this year. As loaded as
The top
is,
the top's heavy.
it's very, very vulnerable. And yeah, the top end is way at the top, and the bottom end is in the shit.
The bottom falls out. The bottom falls out. And then there's a mushy middle.
No. Yeah, it's going to be fun. But Wilmington projected to win by a point. We'll see if that plays out. Number 2, Rockridge goes to Hall. Rockridge expected to win big there. Number 3, El Paso Gridley plays Shelbyville at home. El Paso Gridley is projected to win there. And if you just give me 1 second, I had an email exchange with head coach Tanner Bendick today. And I believe he stated that EPG's best regular season record came back in 2014 when they were 8-1, which Coach Benedict was on that team as a junior, as a two-way starter. Before the consolidation of El Paso and Gridley, El Paso's best season came in 2002, where they went 13-0, and then lost to South Beloit in the state championship game. Gridley's best season, they won their first 10 games in 1992 before losing in the playoffs in the first round. So, if El Paso Gridley wins this game, as they're projected to do, it'll be their first undefeated season in the regular season as El Paso Gridley. I thought that was pretty cool.
The only team in the HOIC I got to beat on. It's the only one.
Whew. It's going to be fun, though. It's going to be fun. I do love that conference.
That is a fun conference.
Do.
It's this year. It was.
It's just such a toss-up right now.
It was all over the place this year. It still is. Like I didn't even talk about it in the first half, but Hayworth.
Yeah. Number 4, Seneca beats they play Carlisle. They're going to win. 61-0 projected. So Seneca will be undefeated. Number 5, Westville plays Iroquois West. Westville goes undefeated again. Number 6, Farmington at Bureau Valley. Farmington goes undefeated again. Number 7, Johnson City plays Cesar-Valier. This is a game in the past years where I picked Cesar-Valier. I got some hate from the TP boys down there.
Not this year.
And then I proved them wrong as Cesar-Valier won. But not this year. Johnson City's too tough. Johnson City, undefeated. A win makes them the number 1 seed in the 2A South bracket. Tri-Valley is at number 9. They play Eureka. Tri-Valley projected to win that one big. Number 10, Moreau Forsyth plays New Berlin. New Berlin is a team, I believe, that is 4-4 with their playoff lives on the line. Boy, you couldn't pick a worse game to play than this one.
2 straight losses.
They're projected to lose like 48-19.
Coming off 2 straight losses to a Moreau team is. And New Berlin's got to face them in week 9.
Oh
boy.
So, in 3A, talking about that proverbial cut line going up.
Here's a big game.
If you look at the outlook, it says 521 right now. Obviously, I see Catholic's at 531 and change. I see Catholic is definitely going to be projected into that 3A field. And they play St. Rita this week. What a matchup here. This is a toss-up game. St. Rita, I see Catholic is the actual favorite, but St. Rita is projected to win. toss-up game here. This is going to be a fun one.
I was looking at the power rankings today. I was just curious. For anyone curious, St. Rita by the HS ratings is the number 15 team in the state. Then it's IC Catholic at 19, and this is just being proven how top heavy 3A North is, because I have to. Then you get 32 and 33, which is Byron and Richmond Burton. There's not a whole lot of separation there between, obviously there's St. Rita, but like those top three, it is very top heavy. It's insane. It's insane.
So here's the thing on this one too, because people are wondering, what 4 and 5 teams get in. So this will give you a proverbial marker of where that cut line is. St. Rita, if they lose this game, will finish 4 and 5. And like you said, they're the 15th highest rated team in the state of Illinois. So for all those people out there, not naming names on Twitter, maybe from Farmington, I don't know. Here's a team that would be in the top ratings with a 4 and 5 record. And if you remember, it was 3 years ago? Nazareth Academy entered the playoffs at 4 and 5 in one state.
Only won 3 in a row.
Yeah. So, anyway, yes, it's possible for teams with losing records to be better than other teams when you take a look at the competition that they play.
CCL ain't no joke.
No. And if I put Eastland Pearl City in a certain conference against a certain schedule, they're 8-0 right now too. No names to be named.
I was just looking. St. Rita's got 47 playoff points.
Yes. Yes. So going back to that information right there. So the last team I have currently projected out of the playoffs right now, if they lose this week, is Leroy at 4 and 5, and they're currently sitting at 41 points. They are projected to gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they're projected to pick up 5. They're projected to pick up 5 points this week. So there you go. The cut line's at 46 for 4 and 5 teams. So if you're at 40 points right now and below, please do yourself a favor. Do not message me, ask me if you're going to get into the playoffs. The only way that's going to happen is if we have more teams fall out that are 4 and 4 than what we're projected to have fall out. Just saying. If you're at 40 points, you're close. If you're at 38 points, season's over. Pack up the bags. You're going home after this week regardless. Just saying. Have fun with it, of course, because that's what Friday Night Lights are all about. And all you can do is go out there and give it your best shot and go for the glory. After that, we get to be on the other side of it and get to speculate this stuff. But that's where the point totals are resting at right now. So it's going to be a fun week, like you said. A lot of things going on. Anyway, let's continue. Byron, North Boone, Byron big. Number 3, Richmond Burton Plano, Richmond Burton big. Number 4, BCC Prairie Central, another team at 4 and 4. Bye. BCC big. Number 5, Chelona UD at Mount Vernon. Chelona UD
Sensing a theme.
Number 6, Bishop Mac, St. Edward. BMAC big. Number 7, Williamsville, Pleasant Plains, Williamsville big. Number 9, Johnsburg, Harvard, Johnsburg big. Number 10, Hope, Chicago Christian, Hope big. All right, there you go. 3A, everything big except the first game that we talked about. So all your state-ranked teams in our NUIC football state rankings in Class 3A, with the exception of Du-Pec, because we already talked about that one, and IC Catholic, all projected to win big this week. All right, let's move into the fun part, Logan. The impact games to the playoff field this week. There is a list here. Holy
I
crap.
listed them all. There's all 4-4 teams on here.
So, the very first one we're going to talk about is the one that's the funnest for me. Stark County at Knoxville. Back when I put out our first projections after week 5, Stark County was 5-0. And if you go all the way back to my first projection, I had Stark County at 5-4. Stark County currently sits at 5-3. Knoxville's at 4-4. Knoxville needs to win to get in. Stark County's already in. Knoxville's projected to win this game. So, no offense to Coach Jade Nord. I'm sure he's going to put up a good game plan here, give his team a shot. I still have Knoxville projected to get in. Greenfield Northwestern at Mendon Unity. At one point, we had Mendon Unity in our playoff field back in week 5 and week 6. And then they fell out of our projections. Yeah, they're not getting it done this week either.
They give themselves a chance.
Unity staying
They
out.
give themselves a chance. Sawyer Allen's playing with a broken wrist. He did it last week. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. A quarterback playing with a broken wrist on his left hand with a big cast.
Hey, when you want to win, you're going to do whatever
I'm giving my
takes.
props. I'm giving my props. That's a 3-year starter at quarterback, and he's a senior. I tip my cap.
And you gotta love that toughness.
I tip my cap.
I just don't think I've seen enough out of Greenfield Northwestern this year, and we've talked about it. While the record is 5-3, their defense is very, very solid. Yeah. I see Coach Joey and the boys getting the win here. Carrollton and Triopia, another big one here. Triopia wins, they're in. Carrollton's already in. Carrollton projected to win this one. Logan, you were telling me last week you feel Triopia can win.
I think there's a path. There's a path. I'm going to stick with kind of my gut. I'm going to ride with Carrollton, but I think there's a path that if Triopia can get them off balance, Carrollton's going to be, and what I presume is a 6-2. If Triopia can move the ball a little bit in the air and open up that run game out of that 6-2, I like their chances. It is at Triopia. I can see the path. I think it's going to be a close game. That's it. Like with the projections, I think it'll be close. I'm going to ride with Carrollton, but I won't be shocked if Triopia wins.
So that is one of a couple games that we can actually see the 1A cutoff go lower than the current projection at 291. Which, if it goes lower than 290, I think at 291 right now, that's the lowest it's been in a long time, if ever.
Last year was what, 292?
Yeah. And that was the lowest it's been since 2018, 19, somewhere around there, which was also at 292. Man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And actually, I have that information right here. 2018, 292.
Wow.
That was the lowest it's been. So, if it gets, last year was 292.5 to be exact. So, yeah, if it gets down to 291, this will be the lowest classification that Class 1A has ever seen. That'll be interesting. Another one that's going to be on that docket is Leroy at Tuscola. Tuscola is only a 3-point favorite. A win for Leroy, they are in. I tell you what, though. Our friend Tyler Graves, his son is the running back for Tuscola. I got to watch a little bit of film of him. Oh, my God, he is.
Stud.
He is a beast.
He's a grown man out there.
Very, very, very hard to stop.
He's a grown man out there.
Very hard to stop. He plays football.
He plays football the right way.
He plays football. Galena at Fulton, we've already talked about, so we're going to bypass that. Galena projected to win. West Central at Beardstown. West Central projected to win that. Havana versus Rushville Industry. I know that our friend Matt Surdick was all about the Ducks getting in. He sent me a text 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago and said, Havana, Rushville, I'm picking it now, Havana over Rushville. Rushville's a 4-touchdown favorite. EPC at Dakota. Obviously, we already talked about that one. That's going to be EPC all day. Marshall at Newton. This one's a big one here. Right now, I have Marshall projected out. Marshall is the 4-4 team. Newton is the 3-5 team. Newton is projected to win this game. If Marshall wins, they move into, what did we say, 3A field, right? Yeah. Paxton Buckley Loda at Monticello. This is a big win for Coach Pritchard and his boys. They have to go on the road to play the Hall of Famer, Cullen. Oh, boy. Cullen Walter and the Sages are 6-2. Coach Josh Pritchard and his PBL Panthers are 4-4. Monticello projected to win this one by a score. A PBL win? They're in. Westland versus Madison. Westland is big in this one. We have them projected in. Illini West, Elmwood Brimfield. Another game here. Illini West is 4-4. Elmwood Brimfield is 3-5. Elmwood Brimfield was a team that we were projecting to be in the playoffs a few weeks ago, but have had some hiccups in the road and are on the out. They're not making the playoffs. But they have an opportunity to play spoiler here. Illini West is projected to win. I have them in the field, but they're only a 2-point favorite, so we'll see what happens there. Mount Carmel versus Lawrenceville. Mount Carmel, the Golden Aces, they get in. St. Joe, Pontiac, St. Joe gets in. Woodstock, Merdian, Aurora Christian. Merdian is 4-4. Aurora Christian is 6-2. My boy, Eddie Kowalczyk, his dad, Eddie Kowalczyk, was one of my college teammates. I'm pulling for him. I hope the Hurricanes get in, but they're facing an uphill battle there. A win, Woodstock Merdian is in, but Aurora Christian is a 3-touchdown favorite, so I'll take AC, but I'm pulling for Merdian. Genoa Kingston at Dixon. Yep, sorry, Cogs, you're not making playoff field this year. Stillman Valley, Winnebago. Stillman Valley needs a win to get in. Bago has been dormant in the Big Northern for quite a few years. Originally, I felt like Stillman Valley was a huge favorite in this game. They come in as a 1-point favorite. Holy cow. Coach Lawler's got to pull some tricks up his sleeve. Winnebago can play huge spoiler here and knock Stillman Valley out of the playoffs. Christopher Ziegler Royalton is 4-4. They play Edwards County. CZR favored to win that one, 31-21. New Berlin, Maroa. Sorry, Pretzels. Good night. Hillsboro 4-4 at Southwestern. Hillsboro big in that one to get into the field. Pleasant Plains at Williamsville. Again, the Cardinals going to fall short there. Williamsville projected big. Prairie Central at BCC. Man, Prairie Central always has a tough one because they're always in that mid-level of that Illini Prairie Conference. But they got to go up against the Giants of BCC.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. Sparta against West Frankfort. Sparta couple weeks ago, we had Sparta projected in, and then they had a hiccup loss. I've had West Frankfort projected to win this game every single week I've been doing this, and they're still the favorite. An upset for Sparta gets them in. West Frankfort's already in. Oh, boy. It's going to be fun. But I don't know. West Frankfort's a 3-touchdown favorite. I don't see it happening. Althoff at Caneland. Our boys, the Metro East All-Stars, the Catholic Wonders. Do they go to church? It doesn't matter. Althoff 4-4 at Caneland 6-2. Last year, this was a close one that Althoff squeaked out against Caneland.
I don't see it happening this year.
Caneland projected to win this one big. A loss keeps Althoff out of the playoffs. They go from champs to chumps in 1 year. Staunton 4-4 at Greenville. A Staunton win gets them in, but Greenville is a 2-touchdown favorite. I've had Greenville projected to win this one every week as well. Here's a big one, Murfreesboro. We just saw them in the 4A playoffs not too long ago. They would now be in the 3A field. They have to go on the road to DuQuoin. DuQuoin projected to win by 3 scores. But do not count out Murfreesboro. They always find a way to squeak out wins. So that gives you a look at all of the 4-4 teams from Class 1A to Class 3A, who they're playing, what they're projected to do. As you can see, a big majority of them are projected to lose, but there's quite a few in there that have the opportunity to win. There's also a few that are projected to lose that are very close and could provide the upset to get in, which leads to all the chaos that we regularly talk about.
It's been a chaotic year.
All right.
It's been a chaotic year.
Now, I know. Now, the interesting part, a part that a lot of people talk about, but don't know much about, and I don't blame them, because trying to understand the Chicago Public League is like trying to understand Chicago politics. You just don't get it. Regardless, there are 4 divisions in the Chicago Public League that are considered the blue divisions. There's the Blue Central, Blue Northwest, Blue Skyline, Blue Southeast. You don't even have to worry about those 4 divisions. Just know if you hear Chicago Public Blue, they are not playoff eligible teams. So you can skip right over them. Then you have the Chicago, what used to be the Chicago Red divisions. You had the Metro, the North, and the South, which are just called Metro North and South now. Those 3 divisions are like every other conference in Illinois, where you have to win the games and you have to get in on wins and playoff points. Then there's 4 other divisions, the North Central, the South Central, the Southwest, and the West. Those 4 divisions are made up of 6 teams each. Between those 4 divisions, they only have 6 playoff opportunities available. The 4 conference winners and 2 of the 4 runner-ups. So, this week, those 4 runner-ups have to play each other. One versus one, the other versus the other. The winner of those 2 games moves into the playoff field while the other 2 are done. So, the 4 teams that are already in as conference champions are Crane, Richards, Ag Science, and Noble Rauner. The teams that need to play to get in are Marshall, CICS Longwood, Kennedy, and Noble UIC. Based on last year, because as of right now, and I'm just going to double check here real quick. Oh, they got it updated. Perfect.
Yep, there it is.
It's in there now. so I can speak to it even better. Give me 1 second here. I'm just pulling up my information so I can speak clearly to it. The teams that have to play each other are Marshall, with an enrollment of 308, has to play Noble UIC with an enrollment of 940. I've had Marshall projected into the Class 2A playoff field the entire time. They are the favorite by 5 points. Logan, I don't know if you have the score available to pull that up, but that leaves CICS Longwood with an enrollment of 730.95 to then play Kennedy with an enrollment of 1543. Kennedy is the favorite in that game by 10 points. So the two teams I've projected to be in out of those runner-ups are the favorites to win this week in both those matchups. The games that I originally had them projected to win are now different, but the results remain the same. So the two teams I have not getting in are CICS Longwood and Noble UIC. And Logan is feverishly looking to see who wins those matchups. Projected-wise.
Big Marshall Rabbie, and then what was the other? Who was Marshall Rabbie playing? UIC.
Noble UIC. While he's doing that,
I don't even know which one it would be on here. Is it no? I'm just assuming it's Noble Academy on here.
it should be Noble, and then it should say UIC, but
I only
it's
see
all right.
UIC College Prep. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what I was wondering. I didn't know which one it would be. Marshall Rabbie 26-14 regular season.
All right, so there you go. Marshall's the favorite there, and then you have CICS Longwood against Kennedy, which doesn't matter because we're not covering those divisions. Kennedy is the favorite. They were the big favorite over all of them. So Kennedy's going to win. With that, those games have no immediate impact to the 1A field, but they do for the 2A field as far as Chicago Marshall is concerned. But if a projected team in 1A loses, such as Carrollton, Knoxville, Tuscola, Galena, Rushville, you'll see Knoxville and Galena erased from the field. And then you have Triopia, Leroy, and Havana joining the playoff field, which would then drive that cut line that's currently projected at 291 down to 289. If Carrollton, Tuscola, and Rushville win, with Knoxville and Galena losing, we will see two more teams that were projected into 2A fall back into the 1A field, which then would raise that 1A cut line up. Those teams would be Cumberland and Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond, which would put the cut line then at 296, with Ala being the largest 1A team, and then Newman Central Catholic at 301.95 being the smallest 2A team. So that just gives you a roundabout look at how it can affect where the cut line lines. I'm glad to hear that Marshall is the projected favorite, because trying to figure out the Chicago Public League is like trying to pull straws out of hats. It's not easy. And you're just hoping and praying. So, anyway, Should be a lot of fun. Obviously, Logan, you have a big game this week with Brown County. The floor is yours, my friend.
I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a fun one. I haven't hidden my feelings about this game all year. I've looked forward to it because I knew going into it what was probably going to be on the line, and here we are. It's on the line, like I kind of presumed, and how we presumed back when we did the preview show. We kind of assumed that it'd have some major implications going into Week 10. So I'm excited for it. I'm pumped. I know a lot of WIBC people are pumped. Clearly, if you've perused that page this week, it's been the main talking point for most of it. I myself just stay out of that.
As you should.
Stay out of it. I'm excited for it. They're a great team. They're they're clearly one of the best teams in 1A. There's no question about that in my mind. At least they're clearly one of the best teams in 1A. I've had them ranked all year. I was high on them last year, so here we are. It's time to rock and roll. Come Friday night.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Be on YouTube.
I know YouTube will cover it, right? BC Hornets.
BC Hornets will have it.
On YouTube will have this game. If there's a radio that can play it, I don't know if you have radio coverage.
WJBM will have it.
You'll have to text that to me. I don't know which game I'm going to tune into, but that might be one of them I tune into. I'm interested, obviously. Like I said, I got friends on both sides of the ball on that one, so there's definite rooting interest in that one. Either way, good luck this week, bud. Should be a lot of fun. Coming up next, we have Joe Merdian and Jay Doyle joining us to talk 8-man football. Again, our playoff show this week is Saturday at 6:30 p.m. live on YouTube. Go to NUIC Football on YouTube, search it that way, or you can go youtube.com/NUIC Football. Click the link to subscribe to our page. You'll get the notifications when we go live. We'll also have the links available on both our Facebook and Twitter pages to make it easy for you to follow. Should be a lot of fun. Like I said before, we've had a lot of viewership over the years. We get a lot of insight from around the state. Arguably the most informative IFA to Class 3A playoff show that there is available for you. We have a great group of guys that help provide us a bunch of information, along with contacts with a bunch of coaches around the state as well. And then, like I said, we're bringing coaches in live this year to have interviews as well. It's going to be a 3-hour plus debacle. It's going to be a ton of fun, and really excited for it, as I am every year, but I'm even more excited this year. From the beginning of the year, I said this is year 10. Year 10 was going to be a lot different with a lot more opportunities to showcase more stuff. We've done that. It's been a ton of fun, and I can't thank our sponsors enough for all of their help to helping us provide all of these different opportunities. But tune into that playoff show, but we're going to go and talk to 8-man after this. Logan, good luck. We'll see you next week, buddy. When it comes to concrete floors, don't settle for ordinary. Upgrade to extraordinary with Diedrich Epoxy. Whether it's your garage, basement, shop, or business, Diedrich Epoxy delivers durability, style, and a flawless finish built to last. Locally owned and trusted, they'll transform your space with professional epoxy flooring that stands up to whatever life throws at it. Take the first step today. Call Diedrich Epoxy at 815-239-1158 and bring strength and style to your floors. Need a fresh look? Look no further than Neff Paints, where quality meets craftsmanship. From gyms and locker rooms to living rooms and home projects, Neff Paints has you covered with top-tier products and expert service. Trusted by local pros and proud supporters of our area athletes, Neff Paints brings the durability, color, and finish that lasts. Ready to get started? Call Skylar at 815-541-7338 and take the first step toward your next transformation. Neff Paints, locally owned, community driven, quality you can see. All right, we're back with Joe Merdian. Unfortunately, Jay Doyle could not join us tonight. He had some work priorities come up last minute that pulled him away from getting on the set. But hey, Joe, we know how to handle this ourselves.
Yep.
So let's take a look at week 8, recapping what we have there. Then we're going to jump ahead to week 9. And then once again, we're going to take a look at some playoff projections. There are some games that may be long shots that we'll talk about later in the show,
Yep.
but there's like 6 teams that still have an opportunity to find themselves into the last spot or last 2 spots, depending on how games go in
Right.
these playoffs as we move into our playoff show this weekend. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but let's start off. What were the biggest impact games to you here in week 8?
Yeah, so we got several, Kyle, that really changed the landscape of the playoffs. We'll start with what was the game of the week. West Carroll beat South Beloit 41-22. That game moved West Carroll up. You know, we had them projected as a 12 seed before this game. This win over South Beloit bumps them up to a projected 7 seed. Huge difference. Got South Beloit dropping from that 4 or 5 range down to about an 8 seed projection here. So, Sobel's still probably going to get a home game the way it looks. But a massive win for West Carroll and a statement win there by the Thunder.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge win. Obviously, we had it projected the other way initially. So congratulations to Coach Sestata and proving us wrong, so to speak. Big win for West Carroll, and obviously we'll talk a little bit about that as we move down the show as well. What's the next game that you see?
Yeah, so game from the South Division, real good matchup here. Pawnee, a 21-20 win over Metro East Lutheran. This game came pretty much right down to the end. Metro East had the ball. Pawnee stopped them. End of the game. But that got Pawnee to 7-1. They've already received the forfeit from Pal Hutt, so they're at 8-1. And again, this was the same situation, Kyle, as Pawnee, being the winner of this game, now has a home game, where the loser of this game, Metro East, now going to be on the road in the first round. So Pawnee, we got them projected as a 4 seed. So a nice job and a nice bounce back win for the Indians after that loss to South Fork the week before.
Yeah, I'm real excited with what Coach Talley was able to do, especially after taking that beating from South Fork. I mean, leading into that Metro East Lutheran game, we all kind of speculated that maybe it was Metro East Lutheran's game to lose, thinking that they were going to come in and be the more dominant, superior team based off of score comparisons with
Right.
how they performed against South Fork. But Coach Talley rebounded the Indians very well, and definitely very excited because he's going to be one of our guests on the
Yes.
playoff show this weekend. So excited to have him on, along with taking a look at Pawnee, as we've had them in our top 10 rankings from start to finish all season long. And none of that is going to change when we put out our final rankings come after this weekend either. So, he's done an awesome job taking over a program that kind of had a bad situation before he got there.
Right.
And so far, he's only racked up a, 18-2 record in his time there.
Yeah, exactly. Not a bad start to your coaching tenure there.
So, yeah, I'm real excited to get Coach Talley on the show for sure. Next game, buddy.
Well, next one to take a look at, to go all the way back to Thursday, seems like forever ago now. St. Anne 61, MCP 28 in the game. Kyle, MCP led 20-19 at the half. And St. Anne just came out and dominated the second half, got the run game going. So the Cardinals, heavily projected now to finish 8-1, got them as the 6th seed. Going to drop MCP all the way down to, it looks like they're going to be in a tie with Metro East with playoff points. We'll talk about that later, but looks like Metro East going to be, MCP, going to be sitting right around that 11-12 seed area. But a good win for St. Anne, for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to touch base on that because based off of what we see a couple tiebreakers in this playoff format. I want to pick your brain later on how that actually works on the whole coin flip process. So keep that in mind as we move through the show. All right, let's talk about Oblong Martinsville.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone saw this coming, Kyle, or if they did, not by this margin. Oblong 50-14 win over Martinsville. All but eliminates Martinsville. They're still alive. But Oblong, a team that showed up in the playoff outlook the week before, kind of out of nowhere. Then they get the win here against Martinsville, so they get to 4-4. Definitely surprised in the margin of that game, Kyle.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. That is definitely very tough for Martinsville because they had a very pristine shot at a 4-5 mark, getting them into that last playoff spot, or at least a tie for that last playoff spot, which could have come down to a coin flip. But now as we begin to look at things, even if Martinsville does get the win this week, they cannot get past Oblong. So they're going to have to hope that some other teams lose, whether it be Galva or Orangeville. They need one of those teams or both of those teams to lose to get them into a spot. Because if only one loses, that opens up one spot,
Right.
which Oblong would have the tiebreaker and the head-to-head over them, provided that they were to lose this week and finish out at 4-5 as well. And then there's a couple other teams in here that we're going to talk about coming up that are in that same said situation as well.
Right, but that's assuming Martinsville would upset South Fork too.
Correct.
So I mean, first things first. If you're the Blue Streaks there,
yes,
so,
yeah, I'm talking hypothetically.
Right? No, they are still hypothetically, mathematically alive.
That's correct. Unity Christian St. Thomas More. That game just finished up last night.
Took 3 days to finish it, Kyle.
And it's the same score it got halted at.
I don't think the weather was much better, other than it probably wasn't raining as hard as it was Saturday, the way it sounded.
Well, they also ran into some lightning issues as well. That's what eventually actually called it. But yeah, what a defensive struggle this game was.
Yeah,
and everybody talks about 8-man football being this high-scoring thing, and we got a 6-0 game here.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't get to see too much of this, obviously, but Unity Christian kept their slim playoff hopes alive. St. Thomas More eliminated. It'd be the first year they've ever missed the 8-man playoff since they've joined. So, you know, they got some rebuilding to do. But Unity Christian, Kyle, we know they have some injuries. So for them to pull this one out and keep their playoff hopes alive, just a shout out to them for sure.
Yeah, and let's give a quick shout out to Clinton Verhecke. And obviously, he's a state caliber wrestler, but at the same time, he also surpassed 1,000 rushing yards this season. He's only the third back in Unity Christian school history to surpass 1,000 yards in a season. So, awesome job by Mr. Verhecke there, Clinton, because there's two Verheckes, so I don't want to get them.
Yeah.
Mixed up, but yeah, great performance there by him. And of course, you know, getting Jordan Hopman back into the coaching reins and seeing what they have accomplished. And like you said, despite some of the injuries, I mean, they put up some games where like we were starting to talk really highly about them and the potential of them being a playoff crash buster. And then the injuries hit and it kind of set them back, but here they are at 3-5 and in week 9 with an outside opportunity to still make the playoff field.
Yeah, the other game, Kyle, I want to touch on here before we get moving here in the show. This game I kind of hyped up on the podcast, hyped up on our show here last week, and I don't think a lot of people really had their eye on it. But Galva, a 50-43 win over Ridgewood. Galva, Kyle, after an 0-9 season last year, I believe 0-9 the season before as well. They're 4-4 now. They're favored here in their Week 9 game. Galva with a chance to get in the playoffs after the big win over Ridgewood on Friday night. What an atmosphere that had to be at Galva on Friday night.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's really awesome for Coach Anderson to beat the other Coach Anderson, both in their first years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both in their first years as head coaches of their program. And if Galva goes through and completes this, that's going to be their first time in the playoffs in a long time.
Since 18, I believe. They lost in the first round in 2018.
So unbelievable. But yeah, Coach Zach Anderson gets the best of Coach Dawson Anderson in the battle of the Andersons in this one.
Yeah. So congratulations to the Wildcats keeping they still got unfinished business yet. They still got to win their week 9 game. And if they don't, they'll be out because they don't have enough playoff points. So it's Galva basically was facing a must-win situation starting last week. So basically their playoffs started last week, Kyle, and they got it done the first week here against Ridgewood. So now they gotta get it done this week. So, but they will be favored against West Prairie in that ball game.
Yes, they are. And we'll talk about that as we get down the road here as well, because that's one of the games we're going to definitely be keeping an eye on. But let's take a look at our Byron Wealth Management scoreboard around the IDFA teams in the NUIC. And there you have it right there. Orangeville over Christian Life, 56-29. Milledgeville over Alden Hebron Olsha, 54-22. West Carroll with that 41-22 win over South Beloit. River Ridge over Harvest Westminster Christian, 36-14. Polo over Hiawatha, 54-14. And Amboy over West Prairie, 68-8. So some big performances there. We'll take a look at those standings brought to you by Volkert Design. We'll start in the Northwest, and right there you have it. Nothing's changed, obviously, because this division's already been settled in Week 7, but Milledgeville sits there at 8-0, Polo 7-1, West Carroll 6-2, Orangeville and River Ridge both at 3-5 currently, both projected to win this week to finish 4-5. So we'll talk about that moving down the road. And AFC got the forfeit win to move to 2-6 this week. Moving to the West Division, pull that one up here. And right there you have the two games that are, or the two teams that are going to battle it out this week for that West Division Conference Championship. Amboy and West Central, both are 6-0, 7-1. FCW is 4-2, 5-3. Galva's sitting there at 4-3, 4-4, like we just talked about. A win this week against West Prairie puts them into the playoff field. Ridgewood 2-4, 3-5. BPC 1-5, 1-7. West Prairie 1-5, 1-7. And then Peoria Heights at 1-6, 1-7. Another division that we're going to take a look at here is the Northeast Division. Again, they were already settled. South Beloit is the conference champions. South Beloit is 7-1 overall. Alden Hebron Osha is 6-2. Hiawatha at 5-3. So those three teams are all locked into the playoff field. Christian Life 2-6, and Harvest Westminster Christian at 0-8. We'll move into the East Division standings. And in that East Division, you have St. Anne on top, 4-0, 7-1, as the conference champions. MCP is 3-1, 6-2. Merdian 2-2, 3-5. Unity Christian 2-2, 3-5. Both those teams, again, like Orangeville and River Ridge, can play this week to get that fourth win and are both projected to do so. St. Thomas More 1-3, 2-6, and Blue Ridge 0-4, 1-7. And last but not least, but that South Division, which has already been won by the Ponies of South Fork. They are 4-0, 8-0. Pawnee 3-1, 7-1. Metro East Lutheran 2-2, 6-2. Oblong 2-2, 4-4. If Oblong can pull off a win this week, they will solidify a spot in the playoffs. We'll talk about that here coming up as well. Martinsville 1-3, 3-5. They're not officially out of the playoff hunt yet, but they have a lot of work to do in order to make that road happen. And Pal Hut is 0-4, 0-8. So that gives you a look at our Volkert Design standings around IDFA. Joe, anything stand out to you there?
Yeah, so the standings, Kyle, a couple things here. Let's jump back to that West Division. Amboy, West Central, FCW, Galva, Ridgewood. Kyle, I gotta say, this division definitely down from last year, and I think down from what a lot of people would have expected. I don't think anybody saw Ridgewood going 4-5. I thought Peoria Heights was going to be a little bit better than 1-7 at this point. Galva, I knew they'd be better, and they have been. But I just don't feel like this division is as strong as it was last year. I don't know if you feel the same way or not, but that definitely.
No, it's definitely something that me and you have talked about in length throughout the course of the season as it's played out. I think that FCW really took that second role as being the number 2 team until they played West Central in a game that FCW was favored to win, but West Central came out with the win. But yeah, I mean, we watched, granted, it was game 1 of the year, but we watched West Central get absolutely throttled by West Carroll in round 1.
Right.
Or in week 1, I mean. Amboy obviously was the projected favorite over Milledgeville in week 1, but we knew that game could really go either way, and that did go the way of Milledgeville. But I would, Amboy, obviously the 2-time defending state champs, still very much in the hunt for their 3rd consecutive state championship and the potential opportunity of their 4th consecutive trip to the state finals. They truly are the flag bearer of this conference, and we'll talk about that when that game comes up here later in the show. But yes, the West Division has obviously produced the last 3 state champions in Amboy, and West Carroll.
Yes.
Or West Central,
West Central.
Yeah. But it has definitely not lived up to the excitement it has the past couple of years. And let's not forget, Ridgewood was in there too the 1 year as well in a rematch with Amboy too.
Right. Yeah, and I think the other thing, Kyle, just that South Division, how strong that's been. South Fork, Pawnee, Metro East, and Oblong now sitting there at 4-4. So that there's been some good games in that division. It'll be real interesting to see how these teams from the South, these upper teams, match up with some of the teams from the North here once the playoffs get rolling. But
yeah, I'm really excited there too, because this division has stood out a lot.
Yeah.
Across, and it's not just from us. I mean, we've heard this division getting talked about across the state.
Right.
Obviously, they want to have a little bit more validation behind who they are and what they are.
Yes.
I'm excited because, like we already said, we have Coach Talley coming on. We are also going to have Coach Hanlon on our playoff shows on Saturday as well. So definitely excited to get these two guys on. Talk about that big game that they had between the two that South Fork really dominated. But I think that the respect that this division and these teams have is definitely earned, and Metro East Lutheran as well with Coach Cook and his staff have definitely come a long way. And you bring up Oblong, and I remember last year when them and Pal Hut came into 8-man football, and of course, it was a parent from Oblong, but they're like, watch out for Oblong as they come into as as a threat in 8-man, and I'm like, well, I think you'll soon find out.
Right.
They had a tough go, but for them to be where they're at in just year 2 shows a lot of what they have done, and they're doing things right to build that program up since dissolving their co-op with Pal Hut when they were an 11-man, and both of them transitioned into 8-man.
Yeah, and the other team I'll touch on here, Kyle, for sure too, is Metro East Lutheran. You know, they lost to South Fork by 8 and Pawnee by 1. They're 9 points away from being 9-0. So that South Fork game, both those games came right down to the end for Metro East Lutheran. So Metro East Lutheran going to be on the road in that first round, Kyle. Whoever they draw, whoever has Metro East coming to their place. Well, I tell you what, you bet. I'm not projecting the upset right now. I don't know the opponent yet, but man, I'm telling you what, Kyle, that's going to be a tough first round home game for somebody in 8-man football. Metro East coming to their place.
Yeah, it won't be fun, but it will be fun for us.
Yeah. Right. That is for sure.
All right, let's take a look at our first game this week. It's Christian Life at 2-6 as they travel to Hanover to play River Ridge, who is 3-5. Last week, Christian Life lost to Orangeville 56-29. River Ridge beat Harvest Westminster Christian 36-14. For the Wildcats, Hamish Bowden had 17 attempts for 150 yards, a touchdown, plus 7 tackles. Caden Bauer once again had a great game there. 17 attempts, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then he threw 2 passes for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. And Soma Yoshida was the benefactor of those 2 receptions for the 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, great job for Coach Burlog to come in here year 1.
Yes.
Obviously, he was a part of the staff before. Him and Coach Reese were both on former head coach Doug Nicholas's staff, so they've been here for a while. And they've been here through the transition from 11-man into 8-man. But a great job by them to get River Ridge back into a competitive state. I know it hasn't always been great here. One could argue that their best season was the COVID year, where they were definitely an opportunistic team to reach the state championship game.
Yes.
Coming off of a semifinal trip the year before, but unfortunately that didn't play out to their favor. And then since that time, they've kind of fallen off a little bit, but definitely getting a rebound and at least an opportunity to be in the playoff discussion as we enter week 9. And honestly, you can't ask for more than that.
Right. Now, I think, Kyle, you kind of touched on it. If they get to 4-5, I think that's just a great finish to the season for them. I really do. Because you look at the teams in the conference, Milledgeville, Polo, West Carroll, Orangeville even. So, I mean, it's a tough division without a doubt. So if River Ridge can get to 4-5, and they're winning, Kyle, if you look at their schedule, they won the games they should win, I think.
Yeah.
It's not like
agree.
They didn't lose a game that they shouldn't have, So when you take a look at things, I guess you probably look back at week 3, that game them in Orangeville, that River Ridge somehow would have pulled that off. That maybe would have been the only chance they would have had to win a ball game there. But
that's definitely the one that we've talked about, and that was the big one for them to get. They were coming off that big game against BPC, and survived a 20-0 deficit to be able to tie it up at halftime, and then have a marathon to the finish where they won it by 2 points. What a performance that was, though, in that game. But yeah, then to get yourself into a 1-5 record and then have the or 1-4 record, I mean, and then have the opportunity to win 3 of your last 4 games to finish it out. I agree with you. They lost the games that they were supposed to lose, I guess you could say.
Right.
Nobody wants to say that you're supposed to lose, but they lost the games that they were projected to lose in. Is
Yep.
the easiest way to put it. And like you said, the Northwest Division has definitely stood tall this year, with the exception of Amboy. And of course, now we see South Fork in that top 5 as well. That was once there by Pawnee. So we've seen South representation, a West team representation, and then 3 teams in the Northwest Division in the top 5 all year long.
Right. No, but all in all, a good season for River Ridge, and I look for them to win big here against Christian Life and finish out 4-5. Like I said, be a great season for them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt, they come in as a 27-point favorite. So let's go Wildcats. Let's get that dub.
Yep.
How about that? All right, let's go to Alden Hebron Olsha, where they will play AFC. AFC enters at 2-6. Alden Hebron enters at 6-2. Obviously, AFC had a forfeit last week, so we don't have a whole lot to talk about them because they received that forfeit win from Schlarman Academy. Alden Hebron Olsha lost to Milledgeville 54-22, and I did not receive any stats from Coach Lawler yet. I know he's busy this weekend, so we'll give him a pass on that. But that was definitely a tough game for Alden Hebron Olsha against Milledgeville. I believe that got to a running clock, and even
it was 54 or 56-6 at halftime or whatever it was. There was a running clock at half, so Kyle, Alden Hebron Olsha, you have to mention it, and I know injuries are all part of the game, but Caleb Linneman, the sophomore stud running back for Alden Hebron's out for the season, torn meniscus. Just an absolute devastating blow for the Giants. I mean, devastating. And I don't think Alden Hebron was a team that was going to go to state or anything like that, but they were definitely going to be a team that had their sights set on winning a first-round game and being a real tough out in that second round,
Well, they turned their season around from a season ago, and obviously getting the co-op with Olsha, brought in guys like Louis Bagianis as well, and it's just it's tough. You don't want to see kids lose their season to injury, but like you said, unfortunately, it does happen. The great thing is he's only a sophomore. He had a great season this year as a sophomore. And, all we can do is wish him back to full health, which a torn meniscus is relatively easy to recover from, which is a great thing for him. But like you said, he was on the verge of 1,000 yards on the season and 13 yard per carry average on top of that.
Yeah, he was kind of banged up all year, Kyle, actually. So he's kind of in and out of the lineup there. So, but Alden Hebron, they still got Stewart at quarterback. He's a senior. They got Fabian Carino at tight end. They still got Jack Stewart, another good sophomore there. So they got some pieces. You feel like Linneman is maybe the key cog, though. But still look for them to win big here against AFC in Week 9 and get to 7-2. Projected right around that 9-10 seed area. So they're still, going to have a chance to win that first round game. Man, if they would have had Linneman in the lineup,
makes them a lot stronger.
Just a whole different feel, I think, just for the team and everything, so. But again, 7-2 for Alden Hebron. What a great season that'll be. And then, possibly, a playoff win as well.
For sure. They come into this game as a 36-point favorite, so I don't see why they don't win this game big either. So I agree with you on that. South Beloit comes in ranked number 6. They have to travel to number 3 Polo. Both teams enter this week at 7-1. Polo beat Hiawatha 54-14. South Beloit lost to West Carroll in our game of the week last week, 41-22. For Polo, Mercer Mumford, 10 attempts, 128 yards, and 3 touchdowns. JT Stevenson also pitched in with 7 for 5. There's 7 attempts, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an 80-yard kickoff return. And let's take a look at what South Beloit had here. It was a tough go for them, but they were led by Chase Harrington, who had 8 attempts for 62 yards. J.C. Scober, 6 attempts, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Passing-wise, Landon Reed was 2 for 5 for 15 yards. I think he may have got hurt. Caden Cook came in, was 9 for 19 passing with 110 yards, threw a touchdown pass. That touchdown pass was to Cam Meiser, 5 receptions, 62 yards. Zane Hagstrom had a reception for 32 yards as well. Tough goal for South Beloit against this West Carroll team. That South Beloit did score the first touchdown of the game on a 72-yard punt return, and then West Carroll went on to score 4 unanswered touchdowns to take a 28-6 lead before South Beloit got back on the scoreboard with a touchdown. Then they recorded a safety, but then West Carroll got another touchdown to really spread that out to a 3-touchdown lead by that time.
Yeah, so that's interesting, Kyle, about the quarterback Landon Reed there. Only the 2 for 5, and then Cook come in. So, obviously the health of him would be a big part of this game heading up, down to Polo on Friday night. Polo, Kyle, they looked real good against Hiawatha. They had rolling on all cylinders. Again, the defensive line just made it so tough for Hiawatha to get anything going. Polo defense playing real good right now. I think they'll be, if they can get pressure on the quarterback again, I think could be a long night for South Beloit. But then the other key is if, Polo's going to stick to that ground game, obviously, so can South Beloit stop that? Didn't sound like they were able to stop West Carroll's ground game. So, we'll see what happens, see what the Sobos got. Excited for this one, though. 2 teams 7-1 and huge playoff implications here, Kyle. Polo wins. They're locked into that 3 seed. They lose. They're dropping to right around that 7 seed, it looks like. And for South Beloit, they're sitting projected as an 8 seed right now. If they lose this, if they win, they could get as high as a 4. So, granted, I think South Beloit's still going to host that first round, but man, 4 sounds a lot better than the 8 if you're South Beloit. So, plenty to play for here for both teams in this one. And again, beating a quality team, if you're either one of these teams going in the first round of the playoffs, could have a lasting effect and could go on, get you going here into the playoffs. So, huge game of Polo Friday night. Can't wait to call it. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, and looking at the projections, Polo enters this game as a 9-point favorite. And when you take a look at how West Carroll won this game by 3 touchdowns, hypothetically speaking, you take a look at Polo and South Beloit's game last year as well. Polo dominated this game against the Sobos a season ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of surprised that the projections shows that. I would not be surprised if Polo wins by more than that.
Right.
But we've talked about it all year. South Beloit can do things provided that they're healthy and they stay within themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've seen it happen, and I can't say it enough. This South Beloit team is definitely fun to watch play.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And provided Polo is at full health too.
Yep.
Like you've stated many times, with Wyatt Plackno and Damon Rao on that defensive line.
Oh, so tough.
Yes, very very hard to stabilize and not get that defensive pressure into your backfield that can really throw you off your game in a hurry. Obviously, the Marcos are going to need a big game out of Mumford as well.
Right.
They might have to start looking at other options to get involved. Obviously, You got your workhorse in Mumford. You got to keep
Right.
running with them. But you also have to find other ways to either get creative to get him the ball or find other options to get into that game as well. Just to give yourself an ability and an option to be multifaceted and multidimensional.
Yep. No doubt about it. I like Pole in this one, Kyle. As you said, the spread's 9, but you definitely see it being a little bit more than that. As you said, South Lloyd is a scary team. You feel like they're a team that's never really going to be out of a game with the way they can score on offense. They have that big playability.
Yes.
But I think Pole will be able to get to the quarterback enough to where they win this game. I'll say by 2 to 3 scores.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me this game 3 weeks ago, I was probably picking South Beloit. Going into the game now, based off of what we've seen, what we know, and how each of these teams are playing, I definitely like Polo. I do like Polo more than the 9-point spread as well. So I'm taking the over on that, and I'm going with the Marcos.
Yep.
All right, Joe, our next big game takes us to a Saturday afternoon in Orangeville, where the Broncos are 3-5. They are going to play host to a team that we've seen a lot of this year out of Madison, Wisconsin, Abundant Life, who enters this game at 2-6. Last week, Orangeville beat Christian Life 56-29. Abundant Life did not play last week because technically the Wisconsin season ended last week.
Okay.
So they did not have an opponent, and they're playing this week. And the reason why they can do that is because they did not make the Wisconsin playoffs. I don't even know if Wisconsin has playoffs in their 8-man league yet because it's a relatively new thing in Wisconsin. There's quite a bit of teams, so I would imagine that their association has an 8-man playoff division. Obviously, Abundant Life not in it if there is one. With that, the last time Abundant Life did play was 2 weeks ago in their second time facing South Beloit. They lost that game 38-8. Last I heard, they were down their quarterback, who was their third leading scorer and really, obviously the leading passer, but also one of the leading rushers, if not the leading rusher for this Abundant Life team. So he clearly has a big impact to what Abundant Life does offensively. Looking at what the Broncos did, Hayden Schofield had himself another big day after going through those 3 consecutive weeks where he got bottled up quite a bit. Breaks out 26 attempts, 305 yards with 5 touchdowns. Oscar Bissell added 86 yards on the ground on 12 attempts with the touchdown. Jackson Grillio picked up 45 yards on 5 attempts with the touchdown as well. Orangeville enters this game as an 11-point favorite. I'll be interested to see how this happens because when you take a look at film on Abundant Life, they definitely have some athletes on this team that are going to provide a challenge to the Broncos.
Yeah, for sure. This will be a tough game here for Orangeville, but I do like him in this game. I just think Schofield, they'll be able to get him going in this one for whatever reason. I don't know. I just kind of got that feeling. Home game for Orangeville, especially by Saturday, Cal, they're going to know if they're still alive or not. So if they're still alive, they're going to have a ton to play for. You said an Abundant Life team, it's their last game. They haven't played for 2 weeks. And maybe I'm looking too much into that, but
no, I don't think you are.
Probably a little tough for them to get, I don't want to say get motivated. I think kids are still always motivated. It's not like maybe a professional athlete when their season's over, but it's still there that it's in the back of your mind. This is your last game. This is it. We're not making the playoffs. Whereas if Orangeville is still alive come Saturday, they should be fired up, should have a good crowd there. And, again, I think Schofield is going to be able to run on this Abundant Life team.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. I hope he does run because, he's already surpassed the 4,000-yard mark from this game. So he's over 4,000 yards now for his career. Another big performance like this is going to move him into the 4th spot on the all-time rushing list. he would pass Pawnee's Carson Wart, who sits at 4,443 yards in his career currently. And Schofield is within 300 yards of Wart right now. So that will be a lot of fun to see. On top of that, with that yard performance this past week, Schofield has rushed for 1,666 yards on the season with 20 touchdowns. So, I have not taken a look to see what George Bailey did this past week, but clearly those two are in a battle for the rushing title in IDFA this season.
Yep.
And it's fun to watch.
Oh, for sure.
And here's a little bit of information too. Let's hypothetically speak for a minute. Let's say Orangeville does win this game this week. Let's say Milledgeville loses their game this week. South Fork would get the 1 seed, Orangeville the 16. You would see a Bailey Schofield showdown in round 1.
Yes, we would. That's
Make
a
it
great
happen.
point, Kyle. That's a great point. That is a great point.
I'd be very excited for that.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun.
It would be. And I don't know where I'm going round 1 yet. There's another game. If it happens to present itself in Class 2A, I might be heading to that game. But if this game were to happen, you very well could see me in Kincaid.
Yep. Yep. You work your way back and catch some games on your way back somewhere too.
Yeah. I've done that before.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I like you. I like the Broncos in this one. They have more to play for on the line than what Abundant Life has. And like you said, Abundant Life not playing last week. Yes, motivation might not be there. It could be there. It's hard to tell. You are playing with high school kids. They could have already checked out mentally. Who knows?
Right.
I know Orangeville's hoping that, but they're also preparing. They're preparing for something bigger where Abundant Life doesn't have anything to prepare for.
Yeah, I think that's a huge factor in this game, Kyle. I really do.
It is. It is. Orangeville's got to come in focused because they have a high probability of making that playoff spot.
Yep, sure do.
And what a great opportunity that would be after where they were just a season ago, missing out. They were the last team out of the playoff field a season ago.
Right.
So, all right, we'll be right back after this. If you or your loved one has been injured, you need someone who will fight for you. Reese & Reese Injury Attorneys have been serving our community for over 40 years, standing up for people when they need it most. They know how to handle the insurance companies and get results, so you can focus on healing. Don't face it alone. Call Reese & Reese Injury Attorneys today at 815-968-8851 and let their experience work for you. Thinking about buying or selling a home? Trust the team that knows this area better than anyone. Best Realty. Whether you're looking for your first home, upgrading for more space, or relocating, Best Realty is committed to making the process smooth, honest, and successful. With deep roots in our local communities and a track record of results, Best Realty isn't just in the business of homes, they're in the business of helping families take the next step. Best Realty. Local experts, real results, real people. Call today and move with confidence. Joe, let's head down to Mount Carroll. The number 5 West Carroll Thunder enter at 6-2. They are playing the Hawks of Hiawatha, who enter at 5-3. West Carroll beat South Beloit 41-22, as we've already discussed. Hiawatha losing to Polo 54-14. We talked about it on last week's show. For West Carroll to have a great opportunity to beat South Beloit, they needed to feed Aiden Buckles 25 times or more.
Kyle, they were watching the show.
Give us the numbers.
Whoever's calling the plays for the Thunder is watching the show, Kyle. 33 carries for Aiden Buckles. I love it. I love it.
201 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was a great performance by the man of the hour, Aiden Buckles.
Yep.
But we have another one.
But, yes, there is a but.
When we hear that, we know what that means.
Yeah.
Our IFA Player of the Week this week goes to the quarterback Winter Harrington. 6 for 8 passing, 144 yards. Let me get that back up there. 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown to help propel the Thunder to that 41-22 win over South Beloit. So congratulations to Winter Harrington as our Neff Paints IFA Player of the Week. Great performance there. Adding to that, Roger LeBourne, 2 receptions, 77 yards and a touchdown. Riker Badimlia, 2 receptions, 46 yards and a touchdown. We talked about the advantages in both receiving cores from West Carroll and South Beloit.
Mhm.
Obviously, the West Carroll receivers won that battle. Aiden Buckles had himself a day.
Yeah, he did.
And the Thunder get the win. A much-needed big-time win. And it keeps that line in play. The only teams they've lost to since joining 8-man are
Milledgeville and
Milledgeville
Pole.
and
It's still
Pole.
alive.
Oh.
And Kyle, if Milledgeville wins their Week 9 game, they'd be West Carroll be ousting Milledgeville, and they wouldn't see Polo till the semis if both teams won their first 2. So
There's
You
a
know.
lot of upside to the Thunder this year. We've
There
talked
is.
about it at Ausium the whole year.
Yep.
And gosh, there's a lot of great things going on with this Thunder program right
Well,
now.
and Kyle, to me, this is long overdue. Aiden Buckles getting 33 touches in the game. I know he was dinged up early in the year. I get that, and I know they got other weapons, but sometimes it's one of those if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and for them to run right at that South Beloit defense 33 times with Buckles, and then that obviously opens up that passing game even more when you're giving Buckles 33 carries.
It does.
I mean, it's just simple football. It really is.
And I haven't released the stats yet, but they better call 911 in this game because Buckles is entering with 911 yards rushing going into this game. And the Thunder are a 32-point favorite, so you might want to have an extra ambulance on the sidelines. Just kidding. I'm not looking for injuries. I'm just kidding. That's playful.
Yeah. Kyle, I got a firsthand look at Hiawatha against Pole here last Friday night. West Carroll's defense is just going to be too much for the Hawks in this one. I like West Carroll. You got a 32-point favorite. I think it's going to be running clock at halftime. I think West Carroll's that much better than Hiawatha. I really do. Their defense, holding South Beloit to 22. And like I said, one of those, as you pointed out, was a punt return. I just don't think Hiawatha has quite the weaponry that West Carroll does, and I like the Thunder big in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Hawks are led by Tim Pruitt and Aiden Cooper. Tim Pruitt has 765 yards and 12 touchdowns going into this game. Aiden Cooper's the quarterback, second leading rusher, 67 carries for 728 yards and 11 touchdowns. So clearly they're running more of an RPO-style offense.
Right.
Cooper's also 47 for 88 passing for 578 yards and 6 touchdowns. Colby Wild is the other guy to watch, 22 catches for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns. So run-heavy team, more of an RPO-style offense. Right. Realistically, it becomes, when you only got to shut down 2 guys, it does become a little bit easier if you can play assignment football, which we've seen West Carroll be very good at this year.
Yeah, and I just think, Kyle, you look at West Carroll, what their defense has done against the teams that aren't ranked in the top 5. I mean, they have shut those teams down for the most part, the teams that aren't in the top 5. Their defense is, it's up there.
Yeah,
especially
I
against
mean,
those teams that aren't quite, as I said, top 5 teams. They've shut them down. There's no other way to say it.
the only points they've given up, because South Beloit was what, number 5 or 6 last week?
Yeah, I think they were 6. I think maybe no, they might have been 5 actually, because they were undefeated still. We might have had them at 5. I don't remember. It might
Either,
have been
yeah,
5.
I think they were 5. So if you take them out, they've given up 8 points to every other team, like you said, not ranked in the top 5. They've given
Right.
up 8 points, and that was to AFC in a 70-8 game.
Exactly. So love West Carroll in this game. They get to 7-2. They'll be hosting the first round playoff game for the second year in a row.
I'll be interested to see if they do get another shutout.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's head over to, well, we're going to go down to Bushnell, even though
Yep. Neutral
it's-
site.
it's a neutral site. We have the number 1 ranked Milledgeville Missiles traveling on the road to one of the top 10 teams in the state of Missouri, in North Shelby. North Shelby is rated number 9 in the state currently. They're number 3 now in their conference. They had the big loss to Knox County. Hardin Central has jumped ahead of them in the ratings, and for some reason, those two teams have not played each other and won't play each other in the regular season. So, but this is a great matchup. Obviously, Milledgeville, state runner-up a season ago in Illinois. North Shelby,
Yeah.
a runner-up in the state of Missouri last year.
Yep.
And when you take a look at Missouri 8-man football, they are, it's just a better overall product. It's stronger football than Illinois 8-man football.
Right.
It really is at
Yep.
this moment in time.
Right.
More established teams, obviously, they've been playing it longer, but with that, they have some powerhouses, and North Shelby definitely looks every bit the part. This is a great matchup for Milledgeville. North Shelby enters with a 7-1 record. That one loss, like we said, was to Knox County, 58-24 in a divisional game there, or conference game. Last week, Milledgeville beat Alden Hebron Oshawa 54-22. North Shelby beat Schuyler County 52-16. So North Shelby, big bounce back win after that big loss to Knox County. Last week for the Missiles, Spencer Nye, 7 attempts, 75 yards, a touchdown. Also threw an 84-yard passing touchdown. Kyson Francis was 4 for 9, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Connor Johnson, 3 receptions, 168 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Carter Livingood had a 24-yard receiving touchdown. Benny Mickelson added an 84-yard receiving touchdown by way of Spencer Nye. The Missiles didn't have to do a whole lot. They really had a lot of control in this one early and often, and got a lot of different guys into the game in that second half as well.
Yeah, for sure. And Kyle, this is a great test for Milledgeville heading into the playoffs because, even though they've played teams like West Carroll, Alden Hebron, they really haven't been tested much since that Polo game in week 4. So that's really the last time their starters would have played in the fourth quarter. So again, I don't know how they're going to match up with this North Shelby team. I don't know a lot about them, but they're state runner-up, just like Milledgeville is, sitting at 7-1. It sounds like they have a pretty darn good running back there, North Shelby. I don't have his name here, Kyle. I have it somewhere and I can't find it, but I know he was out the game they did lose, I believe.
He was. You are correct
right?
about
Okay.
that.
So
go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
I'm just gonna say this is a great matchup for Milledgeville here. Kind of, playing a team that should test them here heading into the playoffs. I love that for the Missiles. Love that they picked this game up where they could have just, taken a bye somewhere or whatnot. They pick a game up here, And it's going to be a great test for them. Hopefully both teams are fully healthy going this one, and both teams leave it all out there, and we'll see what happens here. But a lot on the line, too, for the Missiles, Kyle. A 1 seed, they're going to be no worse than the 2 seed. So, I mean, I say there's a lot on the line, but I still think there's something to be in that 1 seed, just from a mental standpoint in that. You guarantee yourself pretty much 2 of 3 playoff games at home. If that, I guess the 2 seed would be in the same boat, but I don't know. There's just something about being that 1 seed if you're Milledgeville. If you're the best team in the state, when you have been all year, you still want to win this game. You want the 1 seed. You want to go 9-0. You want to, the rest of the state of Illinois to know that you're 9-0 and no one's beat you to this point.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And you might have the answer to it.
Okay, we'll see. Folks, I have no idea. I have no idea what he's going to ask me
right now. But when was the last time a 1 seed won the state championship in Illinois 8-man football?
It was Polo in 21.
That's correct. So what's that tell you? The 1 seed, while it's valuable, isn't always valuable.
Well, yeah.
Because even the year that they won it in 2019, the 1 seed was Milford Cisna Park.
That's right.
So,
well, we'll see. So there goes everything I just said about the 1 seed.
1 year, the 1 seed won it.
Must have been that quarterback they had, Kyle.
Yeah. Who was that guy? Tyler Merdian?
Yeah, that was him. He had a couple guys in the backfield that weren't too bad either, so that helped.
Yeah, he did. He was the ultimate game manager.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. He controlled that offense very well. Very well.
For sure.
Very heady player for sure.
But back to Milledgeville here, Kyle.
And a beast on that defensive line, by the way.
Yes. Yes, thank you. No, Milledgeville, they got it all rolling right now, Kyle. I just think you want to keep that momentum going. And a loss here, it knocks them to the 2 seed. I think these Milledgeville players are experienced. I mean, with a loss, they bounce back just fine. They would still be heavily favored in their first round game, But kind of jumping ahead here, Kyle, and we can talk more about this in our playoff preview, but if, say, Milledgeville loses, they fall to the 2. We got West Carroll projected as our 7 seed. You'd be looking at a West Carroll-Milledgeville matchup in the second round with a Milledgeville loss here. Milledgeville win, they're the 1 seed. They'd get Orangeville in the first round. Then they'd be looking at possibly a South Beloit in the second round, or maybe an Alden Heman or a West Central. So no matter what, you like Milledgeville's chances. But I think you still want to go on some momentum here.
Yeah. So I was doing some research while you were talking because I wanted to find out exactly who we were talking about. And the player that you were talking about is Cole Browning.
Okay. Yep. That sounds right.
Back. And he goes by the way of 5'10" and 190 pounds. They also have another guy. I don't know. He would be a junior. Also listed as a running back, Gannon Bowen, 5'10" and 195 pounds.
Okay.
But I cannot find any statistical information on either of them. So, they definitely have size. They are. I've seen a couple clips of them on Huddle, and man, they looked apart, man. They definitely looked apart. And
again, a credit to both teams for picking this game up. I love it.
It's
huge. Finding a neutral site. Shout out to Bushnell, Prairie City for hosting this game. So should be a fun one on Saturday. I'm hoping to catch some of this one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Milledgeville comes in as a 2-point favorite. So If you're wondering why, at one point or at least me, I had Milledgeville 9-0, and then I had them at 8-1, and then they made it back to 9-0. That's why. I base my projections off of who I see winning the game from week to week, and that can vary. And right now, Milledgeville is the favorite. They are projected at 9-0 in my current projections. You had the same thing.
Yep.
Huge game here, though. Should be a lot of fun. Like you said, great job by Bushnell for hosting this game. That way both teams can kind of cut that distance in half. And it's just too bad that I can't make that drive on a Friday night.
Actually, that game got moved to Saturday, Kyle.
Oh, that's right. It did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Saturday. So you'll be at the Orangeville game if you're at a game.
Yes. If I can make it to a game, I'll be in Orangeville. I forgot this one got moved. Good thing is that Kurt Francis and Kyle Leach will have this on their YouTube channel.
Yep.
Which I've already put the link out there, so we'll definitely be able to keep tabs on this game for sure. All right. Let's talk about our Prairie State Game of the Week when we return right after this. When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence. Joe, we're going to head down to Biggsville, where West Central enters this week ranked number 11 with that 7-1 record, and they get to play host to the two-time defending state champs, currently ranked number 2 in the Amboy Clippers, who also enter with a 7-1 record. Amboy beat West Prairie last week 68-8, while West Central beat BPC 59-36. Like I said before, I don't have Jay here, but his guy, Colt McCoy, 4 attempts for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jose Lopez, you're my guy. You're my guy, Jose. 5 attempts, 148 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Great job there, Jose, for leading that rushing attack. But Caden Heath also chipped in 82 yards with 4 attempts and 2 touchdowns. So really a perfect balance between these 3 guys. The same 3 guys we continue to talk about week in, week out are definitely solidifying themselves in this Clipper backfield. Tanner Welch threw 1 pass, 1 completion, 53 yards for a touchdown to Cody Wynn. Do we dare say that the Clippers are starting to turn it on?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say. I mean, Kyle, you look at both sides of the ball here for Amboy. I mentioned in the Spotlight podcast on Sunday, courtesy of Josh Dillon, the Amboy play-by-play guy. All 3 Amboy running backs, Kyle, on the season are averaging more than 10 yards per carry, double figures. I mean, who do you even try to stop if you're the opponent, I mean, that's just, and Tanner Welch, throw him in as well. He's starting to get some yards too. And as you can see, it's setting up that play action. Welch was 1 for 1 this week. Last week, he was 4 for 4. Kyle, they just lure you to sleep, getting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards at a time, and then they hit you with that play action pass. It's what they've been doing the last 3 years. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball, where it seems like every week, Kyle, they have a defensive touchdown. I mean, it's unreal. Or a kickoff return or a punt return touchdown every week.
Yeah.
And and then you look, they allowed 30 points to Milledgeville week 1, okay? Which I still think that's pretty good. Pole's the only other team that's held Milledgeville to less than that. Milledgeville's put up whatever they wanted on the rest of the state, right? So you take that game out. Amboy allowed 18 to FCW, and other than that, they really haven't allowed hardly any points all season.
Yeah, they allowed 30 points to Milledgeville in week 1. Their other 8 games, they've only allowed 62 points, and most of that has been in mop-up duty.
A lot of that's in running clock situations, for sure.
Correct.
So, yeah, you like how Amboy's playing here going in. It's no disrespect to West Central. If you would have told me after they lost week 1 to West Carroll 42-0, I hate to keep bringing that up, but it's out there, that they would rattle off 7 in a row, I probably would have, bet against you on that. But he turned it around after that week 1 loss, and just for them to be in this position is a shout out to them. But I just think this Amboy team's going to be too much for them. I think they're more physical, both sides of the ball, and they have more options running the football as well.
No doubt about that. We've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Amboy is just quietly taking care of business one step at a time.
Yep.
And it's real quiet.
Yeah.
But man, they're getting after it. They're getting after it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, Kyle, we talked about earlier in the show, that West Division was down. All right, so Amboy hasn't had as many big games per se as they would like, or big games that guys like you and me would look at on the schedule. But again, you can't control who's on your schedule. And Amboy, they've taken care of business since that Milledgeville game, and they're definitely rolling here heading into the playoffs, and I like them big in this game against West Central here to get that West Division title.
Yeah, I agree with you there. 26-point favorite, but I think this game's going to be a much larger differential than that. All right, let's take a look around the state here at our state rankings and seeing what those games are going to look like. South Fork plays Martinsville. South Fork a 36-point favorite. As you've already mentioned, Pawnee gets the forfeit win over Pal Hut, so they automatically finish at 8-1. Number 8, St. Anne plays Blue Ridge. St. Anne is a 68-point favorite, so we've talked about them being a lock at 8-1 as well. Number 9, Metro East Lutheran has to go on the road to Oblong. This is one of the bigger games this week that we've talked about. Metro East Lutheran enters as just a 15-point favorite. So there is an opportunity here for the Panthers to take care of the Knights here. And then number 12, FCW hosts BPC. FCW is a 46-point favorite there. So, Joe, let's take a look at the games here, the teams that are sitting at 3-5, 4-4 with these opportunities to grab those spots. And I'll let you take over right now.
Yeah, so, Kyle, when you look at this, 14 teams are already sitting with 5 wins, okay? So, basically, 14 to 16 spots are clinched. Probably the biggest favorite to get to 5-4. There's 2 4-4 teams, Oblong and Galva. Galva has a game where they're a 30-point favorite in your projections versus West Prairie. So Galva wins that, they are in the playoffs. If they lose that game, they're out because all these other teams got way more points than them. So Galva, again, their playoffs kind of started last week against Ridgewood. Big favorite here against West Prairie. It's winning in for Galva. Oblong, on the other hand, Kyle, they're 4-4. They do have 39 playoff points, but they're playing a very, very good Metro East team who's only lost to South Fork and Pawnee. Oblong, a 15-point underdog here. So Oblong wins, Kyle, they're in, and this is a Thursday night game. Oblong wins in there, and if they lose, they're going to need some help. They would need an Orangeville loss. They would need Unity Christian loss. Make a Merdian loss. So you just go down the list there. They would need at least 3 other teams to lose to still be in the conversation here.
So when they're in
a
loss, they got to pray.
Yep. For sure. So
all right, let's go next.
Yeah, so Martinsville, they're sitting at 3-5. And they're a 36-point projected underdog here to South Fork. So they need to not only beat South Fork, but then they would need some other things to happen. That's a Saturday afternoon game. Boy, Kyle, I just don't see it. The way Martinsville's giving up points and the way South Fork's got that run game going. And South Fork's still playing for that 1 seed as well. And Kyle, South Fork, they're playing for the 1 seed, but if they lose and finish 8-1, you know, they would fall below Polo if Polo wins their game against South Beloit. So they would drop from the 2 to the 3 seed. So it's still an important game for South Fork. So they want to win this one. So I just can't see Martinsville winning here. If Martinsville pull the upset, then it's going to come down to playoff points, depending on what Orangeville does. And it looks like what Unity Christian would do. Those are the teams that could beat him in playoff points or in the ballpark. But so we'll see. In Orangeville, of course, Kyle, we've talked about them. They win. Now they play Saturday, so they're going to know if they still have a chance or not. So Orangeville, first of all, on Thursday night, they're going to be big Metro East fans. They need Metro East to beat Oblong. Okay, that's the first order of business for them. And then if that happens, and Orangeville win, Kyle, I think they're in if they beat Abundant Life and Oblong loses. But they would still need Unity Christian loss and possibly a Martinsville loss there. So Unity Christian, they're still mathematically alive, but they have a tough game. It's MCP. Now, Kyle, I see you only got that as an 8-point projection. That surprises me just a little bit there.
We've talked quite a bit with how strong Unity Christian has been, and yes, they've faced some injuries, but MCP, on the other hand, they've slowly have crept backwards, despite the fact that they're going to be a likely 7-2 playoff team.
Yeah, and that MCP has shown they're susceptible to the run. So, if Unity Christian get that run game going a little bit, who knows? So, but yeah, Unity Christian's still alive here. They need a win. And then, again, it would depend on, Martinsville and Orangeville. Of course, all these teams we've talked about since Oblong, Kyle, they need Oblong to lose. Or, the field's almost set before Friday night if Oblong wins. So, the other team, Kyle, hasn't got much publicity from us or the IFA Spotlight or anybody in 8-man football this year. First year in 8-man, Macon Merdian. They're sitting at 3-5. They're favored here over St. Thomas More. They have the head-to-head win over Unity Christian. So if you get an Oblong loss, an Orangeville loss, a Martinsville loss, Macon Meridian could sneak their way in as a 16 seed. So there's several teams with a legit chance here, Kyle.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't remember the last time we've had this many teams vying for that last spot.
No, I don't believe it's happened in the
Which
short
goes back
existence
to what we've talked about all year long was just the overall. I mean, you still have your top teams, but the overall parity, once you get past those top teams, the rest of that field is just, there's so much stuff that can happen there that creates what we're seeing. And you got to be excited if you're
for sure
loving 8-man football in Illinois.
Well, and back to Oblong, Kyle, all year you and I both have said from the beginning of the season, we both see one 4-5 team getting in the playoffs. Oblong can prove us wrong, Kyle, if they would pull that upset on Thursday night. Them and Galva both win. It'd be all 5 and 4 teams in the playoffs. There'd be no 4 and 5 teams making it. So, who knows? We'll see what they can do. Metro East tough team though. It'll be a tough test for Oblong. But again, they played Pawnee tough here not too long ago, so it's not unthinkable that they could pull that upset.
No, it's not at all. Definitely going to be a lot of fun for sure. Man, I'm excited. I'm really excited for getting to the playoff show this weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure.
Seeing what actually transpires between Thursday night and Saturday afternoon will definitely put this in motion, as we already know, because by the time we hit the airwaves on Saturday night, we're already going to know who's where and doing what. But the excitement here is 8-man football's in a great spot right now. And
yeah, for sure.
You got to love it. You got to love it. All right, Joe, let's Well, I'm just going to pull up my bracket because your bracket and my bracket are the exact same
Yes,
as
they
we
are.
head into this final week.
You said, Kyle, about 3 weeks ago we'd have the same projections heading into week 9. I remember you saying that.
I wasn't wrong, was I?
We figured it would play itself out.
Oh, let me get it here. I'm sorry. I'm a little behind. We'll get this loaded up here in just a second. But yeah, right now, I did not have it on my projection, and a couple people have called me out on it. So I thank them for paying attention. But the 11 and 12 seeds and the 9 and 10 seeds right now are both projected as coin flip games for
Correct.
that fight for those seeds. And I had the 9 and 10 listed as a coin flip, but I did not have the 11 and 12 seed listed as a coin flip. But we'll pull that up here. So there's the bracket that we have. Joe, take over, bud.
All right, so here's what we're looking at heading into week 9. This is mine and Kyle's projections. We're both the same here. Milledgeville, 9-0, the 1 seed taking on 16 seed Orangeville. They'd get the winner of South Beloit and either Alden Hebron or West Central. That, as right now, is a coin flip as we know it. I'm moving down the bracket, 4 seed Pawnee, and of course they're already 8-1. They received a forfeit for week 9, hosting FCW. And I don't see how FCW gets out of that 13 seed. I think they're pretty locked into that. I guess if Metro East lost to Oblong, that possibly could change that.
So I was just talking with Kai Luckert about that just now. And if Metro East Lutheran were to lose, they would be in a coin flip for that 12-13 seed.
Right. Yeah, with FCW. So,
yeah, because they would both end with 35 playoff points.
Yep. Then we move down, very dangerous 5 seed Amboy, 8-1, hosting MCP. Then moving to the other side of the bracket, 2 seed South Fork hosting 15 seed Galva. 7 seed West Carroll Thunder from the NUIC hosting either Alden Hebron or West Central. That'd be a fun first round matchup, I feel like. Either of those opponents. Polo, the 3 seed, hosting Hiawatha, the 14, be a rematch of a game from just this last weekend. And then the 6 seed St. Anne at 8-1, hosting Metro East or MCP. Kyle, St. Anne's one of those teams. I got them locked into that 6, Kyle. I don't see how they get out of there. There'd have to be an upset, just an unforeseen upset, I believe, for them to get out of that 6 spot. So,
yeah, I agree with you when you take a look at it. Yeah.
Hey, Kyle, like we talked about on our podcast, so our 8-man spotlight podcast, the 6 seed.
Polo would have to lose.
Yeah.
Amboy would have to lose.
Somebody would have to lose for that. We're definitely not projecting.
It would only be one of those two. It'd have to be Polo or Amboy.
But even if Polo loses, Kyle, South Beloit jumps ahead of St. Anne, so St. Anne still stays in the 6.
Oh, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
St. Anne, I think the only way is if West Central beats Amboy, but even that.
Yeah, that is the only way. Amboy would have to lose.
That is the only way St. Anne is not the 6.
And that is going to be far-fetched. Let's be honest.
And Kyle, last year, who was a 6 seed? Milledgeville made the state championship. The 2 years prior, Polo was a 6 seed. They made the semifinals. A 6 seed's been good to teams so far, or the last 3 years. So,
well, when you take
that's not a bad place to be sitting.
No, it's not. I mean, yeah, that 6 seed is always a great place. Now the problem is that this year's 6 seed might have to face
go to Polo.
The top 5 team in the second round quarterfinal match, but still, you're giving yourself an opportunity. And let's be honest, you make the quarterfinals in 8-man football, you're right there.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
You're in the final 8.
So, Kyle, I'll ask you, what kind of intrigues you most about our projections here? Let's say these all hold true. What are you most looking forward to, maybe first round or even down the road here? What kind of sticks out to you?
I think the big one right now that sticks out the most to me is, let me pull it up here on my big screen so I can get a better view. I would say the potential rematch in that 8-9 spot with South Beloit in either Alden Hebron or West Central, or not, it'd be Alden Hebron, but if West Central were there, I think that would be a big thing.
That'd be a fun matchup too.
And
I
that
really
would
think
come down to the
FCW
point.
is a 13. I don't know if they could beat Pawnee, but I think they could give them a good game for sure if
I
they're
agree.
healthy.
If there's one place I can see an upset happening, it would be either that 13 seed, like you said, with FCW over Pawnee, or if Metro East Lutheran gets that 11 seed and stays there with St. Anne, I could see that one being an upset.
Yeah, I could see that too, and that'd be. How about that for Polo, Kyle? They'd have to then travel to Metro East, all the way down to Metro East in the quarters. But then if Polo would win that, then they'd probably host the semifinal again. So,
I
depending
think
on what happened at the
I
top.
think you would trade those odds.
Right,
And let's be
exactly.
honest, Edwardsville's a nice little jaunt. I mean,
Oh,
it's not a bad bus ride. It's a long bus ride, but it's not a bad ride.
No,
You're going right
no.
down 55.
Yep.
You get to see the state capitol as you drive by.
Yeah, that's true.
Across the Abe Lincoln Memorial Bridge.
Hey,
Yeah,
Kyle, how about
you're going to get a good history lesson as you're going down on that trip.
Yeah, if that happens, for sure. How about a possible second-round matchup, South Fork versus West Carroll? If South Fork's the 2 and West Carroll's the 7, that's very intriguing second-round matchup.
So, again, depending on how things present themselves, I did it last year. I went down to Pawnee in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
A trip to Kincaid could happen.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, and then you have the scenario. Let's say Milledgeville loses to North Shelby. That puts Milledgeville at the 2. You could have a West Carroll Milledgeville rematch in round 2.
Yeah. No.
And then possibly Polo Milledgeville rematch in the semis for the second year in a row.
That would be awesome.
So
I'll be honest. I mean, yeah, I like where West Carroll is at. That would be a monumental upset for them to get by Milledgeville.
Right.
I mean, we saw that one play out already. Milledgeville would have to come in with the same super focus because West Carroll would.
Right.
But when you get into those games, you could still have that potential mind block. And we've talked about that, as being something that West Carroll still has to get over. I mean, they're moving things in the right direction.
Oh, for sure.
The arrow's pointing up with West Carroll.
Yep.
But the way this bracket currently sits, I like West Carroll's opportunities better.
Yes.
I do like South Fork's opportunities to have that opportunity to prove themselves as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the big things for these South teams, South Fork, Pawnee. Pawnee could get that second round matchup with Amboy, a rematch of last year's semifinal, who, they're obviously would be looking forward to that one, so.
And Joe, I won't lie. I've already said it once on the show already. A Milledgeville loss and an Orangeville win, we're going to have a high probability of a Bailey Schofield showdown, and I'm all for that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I might be hopping on the Orangeville bus to go down to Kincaid for that.
Yeah. Well, you and Jay could just
with Jay.
You and Jay could drive the equipment van down, Kyle.
There you go. I'll ride with Jay and Willie, Jackie, and Shy, and we'll all go down together.
There you go. No, but Kyle, I cannot wait for this time next week when we're breaking down the actual bracket. All our projections won't matter at that point. We'll have real games to talk about. So it's going to be a fun playoffs for sure.
No, it is. I mean, realistically speaking, obviously looking at this bracket, yes, there's a couple games in the first round that can really be very intriguing.
Right.
Them quarterfinal matchups are going to be ginormous.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun for sure.
I do. I see this bracket playing out similar to last year when we got into the quarterfinals last year. I mean, it was like all go.
Yeah.
And I see the same thing happening again this year.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle, that's the thing. You get those quarterfinals, you look at or how close some of those games are. Like I go back to last year, Milledgeville goes down to Ridgewood in the quarterfinals, wins 16-12, right? So they barely win that game. Then they revenge a regular season loss to Pole, and they make it to state. You know, they almost didn't get out of that quarterfinal round. They end up making it to state. You know, so it's just you never know. You just never know in the playoffs. The games are decided on the field, and anything's possible. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, like you said, I'm very excited for this. Another thing that stands out to me too is let's hypothetically speak that Pawnee were to get by FCW in round 1,
Uh-huh.
and Amboy sits at that 5 seed, having
Yep.
that rematch happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one there for sure.
Amboy would have to go back down to Pawnee for the second time this year, and the second time in consecutive playoff years.
Right. And then there's that chance, Kyle, that then if Amboy would go down there and win that, then they have a good shot to host the semifinal game, possibly, just depending on what happened in the upper part of the bracket there.
And that's what Jay was talking about last week on the show. Where do you want to be when this bracket breaks out? Where
Right.
would you rather be? Do you want to be in Amboy or in Milledgeville?
Yeah.
If that were to be the hypothetical case.
Right.
And we were talking about it the other way around if it were Milledgeville Polo per se. And I'm not throwing any of these other teams out. I'm just talking our area right now.
Right.
Because obviously Amboy is everybody's heavy favorite. Milledgeville is also the other heavy favorite.
Right.
We talked about it last week. There's a lot of people that would love to see the separation between those two go to opposite sides of the bracket.
Right.
Now, if your team's on that right side of the bracket as you're looking at it currently, you want nothing to do with that until state.
Right. Exactly. And Kyle, you remember 2 years ago in 23, I mean, Polo, Amboy, and Milledgeville were probably the 3 best teams in the state that year, and they all end up the same side of the bracket, So, it's going to happen. Like 2 of the 3 teams are going to be on the same side,
Oh, yeah, you can't get away from it.
In 23, though, no one was beating Amboy, and no disrespect to Milledgeville. They played them tough in the regular season that year, but then Milledgeville didn't even get a shot at them because they lost to Pole in the second round. But the point is, sometimes it's just the bracket's going to work out how it is, and we've seen 11-man all the time, Kyle, with NUIC. I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast on that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way it is, so you got to be a pretty good team to make it to state, and you got to be a really darn good team to win state. Kyle, I always tell people, whether it's high school football, basketball teams, people always talk about the regional pairings. Like, it's not supposed to be easy to win a regional, Kyle. It's not supposed to be easy to win a sectional in basketball. Same in football. It's not supposed to be easy to make it to the state championship game. Like, that's a big time accomplishment.
It is. And and I get it. I mean, we only have 31 teams playing an 8-man football, and only 16 make the playoffs.
Right.
But like you said, there are good teams in 8-man football, and we've seen 8-man football continue to rise across the board as far as how good these teams are becoming.
Right.
And with that comes that excitement of being able to get down to April Zorn Memorial Stadium to play at Monmouth. And it was great because the old turf at Monmouth was absolutely horrible. This new turf is absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And And just the environment in general, when you get down to Monmouth, I mean,
Oh,
you've been there. It's just so much.
been there every year, Kyle. Every
Yeah.
year. It's great.
It's so much fun just to get down there. I like to get down there early. I remember the one time me and Tyler went down there together and then met up with you and John Gavin later.
Yep.
But yeah, we got down there at like 3:00. We hung out with the referees.
Yeah.
For dinner before the game.
That's right. I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was when Tommy Plaster was still a Whitecap and was the head official of the group that they had together. And yeah, we went down there and had dinner with them at some Mexican place. It was really good. And then we went over to the stadium and walked around for a while. And
Cal, the best thing about the game being at Monmouth, and I'll go to my grave with this, it's still that high school feel. It's the regular, it's not like the 11-man playoffs where you're in the big stadium in Champaign or in Bloomington or Northern or wherever. It still has that high school game atmosphere, and you just can't beat it for a state championship game.
No, I mean, you got the track around the field.
Yeah.
You got the bigger stands on the home side, the smaller stands on the other side. It would be nice. I get it. This wasn't built to host state championship games.
Right.
But it would be nice if they somehow found a way to either expand that visitor seating side, because that's what you always hear is the complaints on the team that has to be on that side of the field with the lack of seating.
Right.
So if they could do something to provide additional seating, that would be huge.
Yep.
But as you've stated, the crowd that we get there is probably more people than what Monmouth sees on game days on Saturdays.
Oh,
Unless you're having a big game against a rival that's close by.
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about that. So, again, I can't wait, Kyle, to break it down next week when we have the actual matchups. We'll have plenty to talk about next week for sure. I'm looking forward to it and looking to see how it all shakes out. And again, we talked about the games this week that could affect this, but it's going to be interesting to see where, who's the one and who's the two, Milledgeville and South Fork. And then, of course, where some of these other teams shake out here that aren't quite locked into their slots yet. So plenty of teams with plenty to play for yet here in week 9 heading in.
Yeah. 100%. So we'll obviously have our playoff show this Saturday. We go live at 6:30. We will be talking 8-man football at the top of the show. We're going to have coaches on the show as well. I did reach out to another coach. Unfortunately, he cannot make it on the show. I'm hoping to get another one on. He's kind of a maybe at the moment, but we're going to have at least 6 coaches in this playoff field on our show, which is very exciting to have those guys on and kind of pick their brain, talk about their seasons. We'll have to generate some questions to ask. I'm sure we'll do all right there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be a lot of fun to talk to these guys, get that interaction. Obviously, this is our 9th annual playoff show. It's the 5th time we've been doing it with IDFA in the action, and it's the first time across both sides that we're actually having guests on the show. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be great. We get a lot of great feedback from our playoff show over the last few years as well, with the amount of depth and insight that we get on teams. And, obviously we have to thank a lot of the coaches for a lot of that information, because without their help, we don't have all of that information available. But on top of that, we have some other people in our group chat that go on beyond their ways to help us gather and collect the information as well, which is always great as well.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it, Kyle. Can't wait.
All right. So get out to the games, root for your teams. As always, root for the NUIC.